Oh, that means Daddy's in the house. Greg, good morning to you. There's a glow about you.
There is.
There is. You got the black shirt on. This is like a James Bond look about you.
Do you think?
There is a wee thing about you.
James Pond.
James Pond. The bog was good then.
I was in the bog.
I was all fired up. I said, I'll give him a good old touch about the bog. The bog's old news now.
Yeah, I had to take yesterday off. I was supposed to be in, but then Donald stepped in.
Tired?
No,
Back
just
sore?
had family stuff to do.
Midges?
No midges. Too windy for midges.
And you had a wee Hudson up for
Wee
him.
Hudson,
I would say
bagging away.
he bagged more bags of pizza than you did
He
yourself.
did. But it's not as bad as footing, but the backside. Now I'm a bit of a long back, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But the backside and thighs.
Was there any bare backsides? Do you know when you're bent
What is
over?
it? Head down, ass up. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
I think it is. Yeah, you don't get time to.
No,
check,
but it was good.
Did you get them all bagged?
Well, most of them.
It's a good day, but it's a better day taking them home.
Yes.
He's got a tractor to take them home, have you?
No, I don't.
How
I'm not
many was
involved-
up? How many the whole squad
Probably
is?
about 20. I'm not involved in the logistics. I'm the labour.
Yeah.
So I haven't a clue, Gooch.
God, that's a
Do
handy
you,
day.
you do turf, no?
No, we did. Oh, I did it. Didn't I?
What was your least favourite part?
Oh,
Button?
just going up. It's a whole day
that's
event.
which is your least favourite part?
Oh, you mean spreading it or fitting them? Because they went miles and miles and miles and miles. And we say we'll do one more row, and sure, there's more rows to be done.
Yeah.
You do one, and you think I've got to go to the very back again, do it all again. And the
horrible,
midges
isn't
eating you and stuff. And then back in the
Is
day,
it
they used to
worth
have
it?
people over with tights over their heads. Do you know you think they're going to rob the
Really?
bog?
I never
Tights.
seen that.
Did you never see that? I'm going back a good. I used to have women's tights over their head, and you think, who's that
But
strange
the-
boy? Think they're going to rob the bank or
Could
something?
the clag still not nip you through them?
Oh, I don't know if they did or not. It's many pair of tights. That's what you need.
I used to pretend when I was much younger that I was allergic to clags, and I got out of a couple of shifts, but that was about the height.
They are the worst. They give you the biggest bite
I
ever
know.
for the side, and it's a big bite. It's not. They leave a big lump on your skin, don't
I
they?
know. Anyway, that's
You're
that.
going to be doing a bit of walking. We'll chat about that again.
Walking. Right.
You're
Just a
halfway
wee
to
bit
your
of
target
walking.
of money as well. I checked to see how much you raised.
Okay, right. Am I? I
Yes.
didn't check yet.
There's I would say now you're about nearly €500 in the bag before you
Well,
even
you
started.
see, the thing is that I have never done any fundraising thing before, and we had that OB down at Cancer Care West, and Noel says, "Could you do something?" And hopefully, people are generous. Noel's going to join me later on to talk about it
Brilliant.
because it is a good charity.
That's
it really
great.
is. Yeah.
You're on the second. Is it second day
Of
of the walk?
I'd have to consult my campaign manager.
Well, it's up on Facebook.
I'm
it's the
joking.
second-
Yes, I am. Of course.
Yes.
All right. So
That's gonna be good.
Yeah. Yes. Hopefully.
That will.
Let's see. I might increase the target.
Exercising, you mean?
No. Stop it. Get out of
All
here.
right. Good luck.
All right, it is the 9 till noon show. Loads coming up over the next 3 hours. A real mixed bag. Let's get a news update at 9, though. Good morning, Mr. Donald Kavanagh.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. The Foyle MP and SDLP leader is calling on communities in Derry to protect their children. It's after some were involved in disorder and attacks on police in the Nailers Row area over the weekend. Colm Eastwood's calls come ahead of an anti-interment bonfire being lit on Thursday night. He says work is continuing to deter people from taking part in antisocial behaviour.
There's been fantastic work by the Fela, the community workers and volunteers to get kids off the street and to give them positive things to be involved in. But this is something we contend with every year, something that we have to keep working at. The discussions are continuing, but it's going to be difficult. If people are determined to have a bonfire, that's one thing. What we have to do is ensure that there's no violence in the streets.
Killybegs Coast Guard responded to incidents yesterday afternoon. In the first, members were tasked to a fallen hill walker on Slieve League. She had sustained a lower leg injury and was given first aid before being put in a stretcher and brought to a waiting ambulance. In the second incident, a young cyclist fell off their bike and sustained a head injury in a remote area outside Ardra. The Coast Guard helped the National Ambulance Service and the crew of Rescue 118, who brought the casualty to hospital via helicopter. Stormont's Economy Minister is to sign off on a major investment for projects in Strabane Town Centre. The funding is intended to support the transformation of local infrastructure and amenities as part of the city deal. With more, here's Katie Gillen.
Finance Minister Kiva Archibald confirmed that she is to sign off on the Executive's financial contribution to the city deal in September, which includes an investment of £103 million for Strabane Town Centre projects, which represents the biggest ever capital investment in the town. The funding will see the Canal Basin area completely transformed with a new leisure centre, a new build for the NWRC and a new civic space. The current Tech Hub building will become the Health Hub. A footbridge will also be built that links the bus station to Lower Main Street. DFI confirmed in June that a shortfall in excess of £4 million of the projected £10.4 million cost of the new footbridge is to be covered by the department's active travel budget.
The Russian President Vladimir Putin has warned the Ukrainian army's invasion of the Kursk border region will be dealt with swiftly. More than 100,000 residents have had to flee after almost a week of intensifying fighting. Last night, Russia launched 38 drones and 2 ballistic missiles into Ukraine. The Ukrainian Air Force says it managed to destroy 30 of the drones, but didn't indicate if any of the others had hit targets. Military analyst Professor Michael Clark says he expects Russian forces to counter the attack with all their available resources.
This battle, it will be quite a battle. This will be measured in days and weeks, not weeks and months. The Russians they'll put whatever is needed to get rid of this pocket. This is Russian territory. They'll do whatever it takes. And so if they have to redeploy their big units, they will do. I'm absolutely certain about that.
Weather forecast mild, cloudy and breezy to begin with. Today, scattered outbreaks of rain and drizzle giving way to brighter, drier and sunny conditions. Just the odd light shower spreading from the west through the morning and into the early afternoon. Highs today 17 to 19 in moderate to fresh and gusty south to southwest winds. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with news again at 10 o'clock.
Whether you're adventuring, salsa dancing, or you just popped out for some milk, you're not always home. With Unpost, that's not a problem. You can set up a safe spot for us to put your deliveries when you're not in, or rearrange delivery to your local post office. And if something's not right, you can quickly return it with a collection from your door or drop at your local post office. Online shopping, made easy with Unpost. Unpost, for your world.
And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest, the 9 to noon show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Yes, indeed. Hello and a very good morning to you. It's 4 minutes past 9 on this Tuesday, the 13th of August, and you're very welcome along to another 9 till noon show. How are you all keeping out there across the Northwest or wherever you are listening to us from? We'd love to hear where you're listening to us from. You can get in touch with us with that information if you wish, and your social security number. No, I'm only messing. You can get in touch with us with that information, and also to have your comments and your say on topics on the show today, or indeed to raise your own. 086 60 25,000, 086 60 25,000. That's the WhatsApp or text number. Or give us a call on 074 91 25,000, 074 91 25,000. Or emails to comments at highlandradio.com, comments at highlandradio.com. If you want to watch the show, we're streaming live on YouTube, Highland Radio Ireland. You can watch on your smart screen TV or your Fire Stick, if that suits you at home. And we're on Facebook as well, Highland Hub, Highland News and Sport, and on the X platform, Highland Radio streaming successfully. Unlike Elon Musk, who owns the plant, last night he had a conversation with Donald Trump. Managed to listen to a couple of clips this morning. Strange, two billionaires patting each other on the back, but there you go. That's the world we live in nowadays. Maybe you listened to it and you enjoyed it. I don't know. If you did listen to it, you hardly listen to us now, because I think it ran on till 3 o'clock in the morning. Right, okay, so as I say, get in contact with us with whatever you want. And also people often contact me through my own social media, which is great too. I love to help where I can. Sometimes the messaging can be quite busy, but I don't see it all. But there's one thing I've noticed of late, and it seems to be particularly from the Inishowen area, is people in very desperate housing situations. I've been contacted by maybe 4 or 5 different people. Often it's mums, to be honest with you, who have children, and either the house they're living in, renting, is got mica and the landlord needs them out to do the house up, or maybe they have the landlord's upping the rent and they can't afford the rent that the landlord's looking for. We heard one such case last week, and they're moving out. But there just is, and I would say it's a tiny percentage of people that would reach out to me, but there does seem to be a growing situation of families being asked to move out of homes because of rent increases, or because of maybe defective concrete and remedial work taking place. And it's causing incredible amounts of distress and anxiety. So I don't know what we can do about it, but certainly we might talk about it down the line. But I mean, if you're in that position and you want to reach out, please feel free to do so. But there's a couple of people have already contacted me, and I'm still back and forthing with them as to what path they wish to take from it. But it's a very difficult situation. People in desperate, dire straits. Right, sorry. I don't know why that came into my head. I just glanced at my phone and it reminded me of some of the conversations over the weekend. Let's have a look at the newspapers. The Irish Independent talks about EV uptakes and some interesting statistics in Donegal. And I'll get to those in a moment. But motorists in the commuter belt are slowly moving towards electric vehicles, but efforts to get rural drivers out of petrol and diesel cars are stalling. Those who are shifting are opting for hybrid rather than fully electric, and government targets of having 1 million EVs on the road by 2030 now seem dubious. They were dubious the day they were announced, a ridiculous target, and I think even the government's given up on that, if the truth be told. In one rural county, EVs make up just 1 in 48 new registrations in the first 6 months of this year. There are currently 110,000 EVs on Irish roads. Hybrids made up almost a third of new cars registered in most counties in the first half of this year. In more than half of counties, 1 in 10 or fewer were EVs. Now, just looking at some of the Donegal statistics, but I'd just be interested because, you know, a lot of cars that people favour, you can't get them in diesel any longer, or you can't get them in straight diesel, for example. It's a soft hybrid. I'm not sure, are they counted as hybrid or are they counted as diesels? But anyway, in Donegal, 7.2% of new cars were EVs. Fossil fuels, ICE engines, effectively 67.8 that run solely on petrol or diesel. But I mean, if you're looking at your Nissan, you can't get them in diesel, so they're going to be petrol. Hybrid, interestingly, 25%. 25% of new cars were hybrid. Now that's higher than most other rural countries. In Leitrim, hybrid 17%, Sligo 22%, Mayo 21%. Roscommon 17%. So down sort of the western side of the country, we seem to be favouring hybrids more. But we are lower in full EVs, 7.2% in Donegal, then in Leitrim 7.9, 11.2, 7.4 in Mayo, 3.4 in Roscommon. It's 10.6 in Galway, Longford 7.7. But I think just a cursory glance around there, I think we have the second lowest uptake of EVs, or maybe the third lowest behind Monaghan and also Roscommon. But what's that down to? I genuinely think it is down to the charging infrastructure. Because we spoke to a dealer in the past, this was going back 3 or 4 years ago, and people love the electric car because they're fantastic cars to drive. They've got fantastic torque, acceleration, but people are worried about charging them, and there's not enough chargers. Simple as that. And to the point where I'm kind of almost dubious about doing any future interviews about the charging infrastructure, because I've done maybe 3 or 4 or 5, whether it be the government, ESB, talking about millions upon millions of euro being invested in the EV charging infrastructure. And yet, where are these chargers? Where is this charging infrastructure? So we keep doing these interviews and people go, oh, right, they're doing something about it. But these charging stations don't appear anywhere. So, I mean, in the Wide Atlantic Way, could you drive the Wide Atlantic Way in an EV car successfully, comfortably? I'm willing to try it. I don't have an EV car, but I'd be willing to try it. But anyway, so that's it. We are, I just wonder if it's the cars that we favour are more likely to come in hybrid now, or are we fond of the hybrids in Donegal? As I say, we've a huge uptake in them. Not a huge uptake, more of an uptake than other rural counties. But we've one of the lowest, third lowest, I believe it is, in full EV uptakes. On to the Irish Times now. Nearly 1,100 deportation orders have been issued to asylum seekers over the last 6 months, with plans for charter planes to enforce removals now at an advanced stage. Still at an advanced stage. They were at an advanced stage a couple of months ago. The number of deportation orders is increasing amid a continuing effort by the government to toughen up immigration policies. Taoiseach Simon Harris has stated on a number of occasions this year that there is a need to focus on faster processing times and effective deportations for asylum seekers who do not have a right to reside in the state. If the current trend continues, the state is on track for a record level of deportation orders in 2024, potentially well in excess of 2,000, which would be the highest number in the last 4 years. But at the moment, if the truth be told, people receive a deportation order and just crack on. And oftentimes the government don't actually know where they are. Enforced deportations are now up 128%, and voluntary returns are up 157% to mid-July. Now, the percentages sound impressive. The actual numbers, which the paper don't print on the front page, are so low that, going from 13 to 39 is a 300% increase, just as an example of a figure. What do you think about this? There seems to be more of a pressure on women to sort of adopt traditional roles. There's actually, I mentioned Elon Musk at the top of the show. He and others are very frustrated, it seems, by the low birth rates in certain countries. And in fairness, it is collapsing. And in Ireland, the birth rate year on year dropped really, really quite significantly, one of the most significant drops. So we are having less babies, but it seems to be the pressure is on women to become trad wives. It's a trend. And I don't know what you think out there, particularly women. I'm more interested in what women have to say in relation to this, or fellas for that matter. But anyway, it's a social media trend encouraging women to return to homemaking gender roles as trad wives. But apparently some feel it's undermining decades of progress and harming women. The trad wife trend began in Britain in 2020 and quickly spread across the Atlantic. While many of its original proponents have now shunned the movement, younger influencers are continuing to promote the joys of relying on a husband for financial support, being submissive to him and staying at home to prepare meals and shoulder all the domestic duties. Now, the problem we have in this day and age is that, and we talked about this on the show last week, you can take a position on social media that you might not actually agree with, right? But it gets views and it gets clicks and it gets likes and it gets plays and you get money from that. So you could actually I could become an influencer in trying to get women to be trad wives. I might not want that to be the case, right? But there's money in it. So I could sort of say, well, listen, it's just a job. It's a role I'm playing. So really what's happening on social media is not necessarily reflective of what's happening on live because it's monetized. But anyway, in a TikTok video with over 1.6 million views, which is actually really quite small for TikTok, trad wife influencer SD Williams, 25, from Richmond, Virginia, said trad wives believe their place is in the home while the husband provides for the family. Victoria Litt, a Texican whose TikTok account has 52,000 followers, recently posted that the number one rule for trad wives to remember: a man's home is his castle, so he should be treated as a king. He's working a stressful job, maybe working long hours so he can provide for you and the family. So he rightfully deserves peace. He's your king and you're his queen. That is your duty, she said. But a mental health charity believes this is actually, it's harmful to women. And it sounds harmful to women, I think. But anyway, what do you think about that? Would you be a proponent of those values? Would you be in favour of them? Do you think it's right? Do you think it's wrong? 086 60 25,000. The fella that allegedly made threats to Simon Harris, he's appeared in court. A man appeared in court yesterday charged with threatening to kill Taoiseach Simon Harris and his family. Patrick Grealish, 48, of Lettermullen, Galway, appeared before Judge Gerard Furlong at a special sitting of Galway District Court yesterday afternoon. Mr. Grealish is accused of making a threat to kill or cause serious harm to Simon Harris and his family. Detective Sergeant Eamon O'Neill of the Special Detective Unit gave evidence of arrest, charge and caution. Mr. Grealish says thank you very much to the judge when granted bail. He was granted legal aid and bailed on his own bond of €500. Ukraine has adopted a new approach. They are pushing into Russia, and I presume the idea is that in the event of some sort of a peace deal or negotiations, hopefully we're not a million miles away from that, given the incredible loss of life that's occurring in Russia and Ukraine. They've moved into Russia, and I suppose if they can go in there and hold a certain amount of land, the idea being that if it ever comes down to a negotiation, I presume I'm not even an armchair general, but presumably then there's a bargaining chip, right? So they can say, well, you give us back part of our country and we'll give you back the part that we're occupying. But about 100,000 Russian civilians have scrambled for safety from a shock Ukrainian cross-border incursion that's overwhelmed Vladimir Putin's defences. Hundreds of Russian soldiers, including officers, have been forced to surrender as humiliated President Putin tried to play down the blow. Over 11,000 citizens in Belgorod, neighbouring the main point of the invasion in the Kursk region, have been told to flee by Russian officials. It is on top of the huge number of refugees who've escaped their Kursk homes, with even more being urged to leave. An official in the region admitted to reporters it'd become a very tense situation. Now, the remarkable situation we find ourselves in at the moment is that you've got American armoured vehicles and weaponry from Europe, but particularly I think it's the American angle on it which seems pretty significant. In Russia, on Russian territory, driving through, there was an awful, there was awful descriptions of these military vehicles surprising Russian soldiers and just driving straight through them. and opening fire on them. I know they're soldiers, and I know it's a war, but still, the imagery seems incredibly shocking. But you've got American armored vehicles inside Russia at the moment now, and you do wonder, given the weaponry, maybe it's rules of war, and maybe it's my naivety, or maybe someone out there can answer. I mean, Vladimir Putin has weapons at his disposal which could flatten Kyiv, for an example. Is it rules of war that he doesn't do that? Is it that they've set the battle lines that it's mostly a ground war and an air war with certain type of weaponry? Because he quite literally could flatten Kyiv or any other city for that matter, I presume. But he doesn't. So maybe it's the rules of this war. I don't know. I'm a bit naive in that regard and don't dig too deep into it. But has that ever tweaked your curiosity as to why he doesn't clearly use the weaponry available to him to maybe it's because of the civilians or what have you. We could order the evacuation of a city and then threaten to flatten it. I don't know. That sounds terribly insensitive, but I'm genuinely curious as to why, when he's got much greater firepower, he's not going down that route. But I presume maybe it's down to some sort of a rules. But on a much more happy note, more than 20,000 jubilant Irish fans turned O'Connell Street into a sea of green to welcome our Olympic heroes home yesterday. Huge crowds gathered outside the GPO in Dublin city centre from early morning, anxious to catch a glimpse of our sporting stars after they jetted in from Paris following our most successful games ever. Brilliant pictures, and I think some commentator described it as like St. Patrick's Day, but without the booze and drizzle. But there you go. Great scenes. So, okay, it is time for us to move on the programme. We'll be right back.
Daily newspapers are courtesy of Cosgrove, Centra and Diner, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
4 Fridays.
4 winners.
Plus 1 lucky jackpot.
20 grand.
Highland Radio.
Highland Radio. Oh, that didn't work.
People all over Ireland have smart meters, just like Niall.
After mine was installed, I signed up for a free ESB Networks online account. Anyone can, regardless of who their supplier is. Now I actually understand how I'm using my electricity. This has helped me pick a tariff that's right for me.
Niall's home is just like the other 1.8 million homes in Ireland that have a smart meter. Start seeing how your smart meter can work for you and sign up for your free online account at esbnetworks.ie. Join us to deliver a smarter, cleaner electric future. ESB Networks, energising your everything.
If you're heading off on holidays, why not treat yourself to a pair of designer sunglasses? At Louis Walsh Opticians, you'll find a full range of top-name sunglasses at great prices, so you'll look your best while your eyes are properly protected. For a sight test with an OCD 3D scan, contact lenses, or a driver's sight report, Louis Walsh Opticians, Letterkenny's longest established and family-run opticians, are located in the Courtyard Shopping Centre. Call 91 21000.
Nutrius Winling Crunch in on promotion at your local Homeland store. Buy 10 bags of Nutrius Winling Crunch ATP, get 1 free, or get €15 off per tonne in bulk. The Nutrius Beef ATP pack enhances animal performance through maximising rumen efficiency. T's and C's apply. Contact your local Homeland or farm commercial specialist today. Visit nutrius.ie for full product details.
Now, there is still major questions over the future of a GP service out of Ardra. We're joined on the programme to talk more about this now by Deputy Thomas Pringle. Good morning, Thomas. Thanks for your time.
Morning, Greg. How are you?
I'm good. Now, I don't know how long ago it is, but it seemed like a long time ago. I think the HSE said something along the lines that they were committed to providing or recruiting a GP to service this area. Yet here we are. What is the situation and what do we understand at the moment?
Well, as I understand it at the minute, the situation is that Dr. Marielle Sweeney, who's the current GP in Ardra, is due to retire on the 22nd of August. And to date, she has had no correspondence from the HSE in relation to what is happening with the practice and whether it's going to be filled from that time. I haven't been able to get any response from them either, despite them almost 2 weeks ago telling me that the response was on its way and that it would be with me. It hasn't arrived yet. And I think that's just a very bad form and very bad practice from the HSE, and to leave a community wondering and like this, and right up to the jaws of when the GP is going to retire. I think it's not on, and in this day and age, it shouldn't be happening.
Yeah, so I mean, we don't really know if the HSE issued a holding statement to keep everyone happy and ticking over, or if there's actual activity going on in the background to back that statement up. We don't know because they're not telling us any more details.
They won't tell us, and they won't know. I understand that there hasn't been interviews yet, but I don't know is that correct or not. But that's what I've been informed. But we just don't know because the HSE won't say, and that's unacceptable. I think if the HSE are having difficulties in recruiting or whatever, or getting applications, they should be coming out and saying that, and it should be a straightforward thing to say that and let everybody know what this situation is, because then people can deal with it when they know what's likely to happen. But leaving everybody hanging and wondering is unfair, and I think it's unprofessional as well from the HSE's point of view.
Yeah, and I mean, it's all right me saying it and you saying it. It's really quite regrettable that the current GP feels that they have to say it. As the current GP, some form of communication from the HSE would be appropriate or appreciated, It would also be helpful to my staff if they had some idea whether they'll be re-employed by any successful candidates. So what is the sort of the terms of the job that's being advised by the HSE or advertised,
Yeah, I mean, I know that the GP services have some sort of the GPs are individuals and their individual practices and stuff like that there, but the HSE has a role involved in that, and the HSE is the most important customer of a local GP as well, and they have a very strong responsibility, and they have a legal responsibility to the medical card patients in the area, and that they have to respond in relation to their treatment and their care, and that's why the HSE is responsible for recruiting GPs and stuff like that as well. It's because of the medical card patients and the public service patients. So they have a responsibility and they need to live up to that. And unfortunately, we're kind of talking in a vacuum because we don't know what the situation is because the HSE won't tell us.
Yeah, see, and just in relation to that, Thomas, we had it recently with St. Joseph's there in Ballabafay. Like, I don't want to over-amplify my influence, but a lot of people listen to this show, and when we have conversations like this, we're kind of feeding the uncertainty or maybe anxieties, okay? I would love to work with the HSE, even to get out in front of this stuff and get proper information on. I'm sure you would too. There's no advantage to you in highlighting the concerns of your constituents. It'd be far better if you could bring to them something from the HSE and say, and by the way, that's what the HSE says. We'll give them a couple of weeks, but I'll hold them to it and I'll come back to you with more information. But we don't get that. This is the response to our concern, our queries from the HSE. I'm not editing it. This is quite literally it. The HSE are currently in an active recruitment process to fill the position. Sinead, that's it. So we are
more of a response than I got.
Well, there you go. But that you now you have it as well. So my point is that work with us. There's a massive communications department there. Work with the media. Work with the local representatives. Get the information out early. Don't drip it, because we'll probably get another press release tomorrow with a little bit more detail. And it doesn't benefit anyone. There's no advantage in it for me or you, and certainly not in the public, who are the most important in relation to this. And I think the GP who's currently there at the moment, very legitimate, very simple questions that deserve an answer.
Yeah, particularly from the current GP's point of view, and this is the same in every GP area. That person has given a commitment to the area for many years, and then at the end of their career or their time is to be left in this limbo of not knowing, and also that they're looking they're going to retire or whatever, and they're probably thinking, should it be right? Should they be retiring at this stage?
100%.
Are people going to be left in the lurch of that? Yeah. And that's the problem, and that's why that. The HSE should be coming out and saying things. And you're right, I mean, we shouldn't be left in the lurch. We shouldn't be like, it makes me look like a fool when people contact you from the area and you say, look, I'm trying to get an answer from the HSE, they won't respond, and that kind of stuff, and that doesn't do us any good either. And we'd like to be able to say to people, yes, the HSE are recruiting, there's an interview taking place next week, or there isn't, or something has happened, and they're moving on with it, and that's happening. And it's very simple. I mean, I could
write it for them. The HSE is currently in an active recruitment process to fill. This is me guessing what they should say. Fully active process to fill the position. We hope someone will be appointed as soon as possible. It is hoped that the successful candidate will have the full use of the Ardra Health Centre to continue or perhaps even to expand services, and the HSE will be fully committed to supporting them in their role, and also hopefully that the new GP, when appointed, will meet with the current staff at the earliest opportunity to allay any concerns they might have on their futures. I mean, that's not what they've said, right? But that would sort of say, right, okay, they're serious about this. They've committed to this health centre. They've listened to the previous GP. They're listening to the local public reps, and they're listening to the public. Instead, they kind of insult us with a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 word press release.
Yeah, it'd be very easy to say that, Greg, and it'd be very, I have no doubt that there are people in the HSE working hard at trying to resolve this, or if there is an issue, but we don't even know if there is an issue, and and that. So, I mean, I don't think there would be anybody would have any criticism for them to come out and say, look, we're working hard at this, we're trying to sort this out, and we'll be working as soon as we can, and that's all anybody's looking for. But when you get a complete vacuum and you don't know what's going, then the rumor mill takes over, and everything happens then, and then you get public media, social media, and stuff like that there taking over and everything as well. And the completely wrong story might be.
And also too, what I think would be very telling is how advanced are any interim plans.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because that could be quite telling too as to the commitment to get a new GP in there. I would not be surprised if interim plans are already in place as to how providing GP care in that area will be covered into the future. You know what I mean? We don't. I don't. Yeah. No, I'm on about in terms of it's going to be out of Glenties. Is it going to be out of this? Do you know what I mean? The contingency plan probably is more firm than the recruitment plan. Okay, well, listen, Thomas, thanks for your time. As I say, you know, that's all we have, that press release. All we can do is keep the pressure on. But for now, Independent Deputy Thomas Pringle, thanks for your time.
Thank you, Greg.
All right, bye-bye. So that press release, the HSE are currently in an active recruitment process to fill the position. So people in and around the Ardra area, I wish I could give you better news. The current GP, this is what they wrote on the Ardra Health Centre website. As you know, I'll be working my last day as GP in Ardra on the 22nd of this month. I've been in touch with the HSE, but have yet to be informed if interviews have been held for the post of GP in Ardra, and if so, is there a successful candidate? In my contacts with the HSE, I've always stressed that the premises at Ardra Health Centre would be at the disposal of any successful candidate. As the current GP, some form of communication from the HSE would be appreciated. It would be helpful to my staff if they had some idea whether they'll be re-employed by any successful candidate. And as I say, the response, the HSE are currently in an active recruitment process to fill the position. So that's the vacuum in which we have to talk in 086 60 25,000. A texter says, sure, landlords not renting to locals anymore. Look what happened. The woman in Buncrana, landlord put her rent up from 540 to 1,250. I think it went up 140%, so maybe your figures are right there. The woman can't find anywhere else, so she and her 2 children will be homeless. She works for the HSE, and because she's working, doesn't get any social welfare help. But even the social welfare help is not enough. One of the ladies or gentlemen, I won't divulge that I'm in contact at the moment. I'll just double check with them if it's okay for me to read their story, because it is another desperate situation. Morning, Greg. What's the resale value of these second-hand electric vehicles? Can any dealer come on and answer these questions? Yes, of course. There's a lot of misinformation out there in relation to the longevity of the batteries, the resale value. I'm not here to promote or plug them, right? Don't get me wrong. Nor would I diesel, petrol, whatever type of engine. But there was one high-profile dealer who came out and said that she wouldn't deal with them. But the market has to settle, because there's not a massive second-hand market of them, because they're relatively new. But any dealers out there that are listening perhaps and want to talk about the resale value, quell any of those concerns, you know our details. Right, we are going to our next guest in a moment, but we do have to take a very quick break. Stay right where you are.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
TFI Local Link operates evening and weekend services throughout rural Ireland to help you stay connected 7 days a week. We know life doesn't just happen 9 to 5. So if you're commuting, shopping, visiting family, or going out in the evenings or on the weekends, let TFI Local Link take you there. Visit transportforireland.ie.
It's a busy time on farms, so watch out for tractors, trailers and other farm machinery using the roads. Be patient, slow down and only overtake farm machinery when it's safe to do so. If you're driving a tractor, you must hold a licence. Make sure your vehicle is roadworthy, check your load regularly and drive at a safe speed. Be aware of traffic building up behind you and when possible, allow cars to pass safely. From the Road Safety Authority and the Irish Farmers Association.
Andre Rio annual feel-good event is back at Century Cinemas this summer. On the 31st of August, the King of the Waltz presents Power of Love, a brand new concert filled with uplifting music, spectacular performances and romantic waltzes. Book your ticket now at centurycinemas.ie.
The hunt is on for Ireland's new local hero. Irish Music Month is on independent radio across Ireland this September. It's simple. If you make original music, we want to hear from you. Play live on air, get expert mentoring, win 10k in support, have your song released by a label, and enjoy airplay across 21 local radio stations. For details on how to enter, go to highlandradio.com or stay listening to Highland Radio. Independent Music Month. Irish radio supporting Irish artists with IBI and Hot Press, supported by Commission on Sound and Vision Scheme, funded by the television licence fee.
The Garda are urging people not to rely on social media for finding student accommodation, as they revealed that 12 victims suffered a combined loss of over €20,000 through accommodation scams last month. And we were talking about housing generally a little earlier on, and when there is a particular desperation in a certain area, there are people who are very good at what they do, not to give them any credit whatsoever, but they're full-time con people. And they will try and exploit any crisis or shortage, and not least student accommodation. And I think particularly for those of us in rural areas where we could be talking about Galway and Dublin, are we going to drive up and down to check out accommodation every time, or we're going to wing it and say, right, I saw the pictures, I believe you, I trust you. We land down with our bags and our bank account could be empty and no accommodation to be seen. We're joined on the programme now by Detective Superintendent Michael Cryan, who it's a timely warning, actually, because I think now is the time people are sort of going to be starting to look in earnest at student accommodation. Good morning, Michael. Thank you for your time.
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity.
Right, okay. So what is happening to those of us who are falling victim to these scams? Is it that we are relying on social media, on pictures, on trust in mankind or humankind to secure this accommodation? What's happening?
I suppose a little bit of everything. This type of crime, it happens all year round, but these are really the high-risk months, August, September. For the first 6 months of this year, reports of this crime are down 11%, so that's good news. But as I said, these are the high-risk months because students are returning to college, and there are new students as well, as you said yourself, from rural areas looking for accommodation in the cities. So generally speaking, victims are seeing ads on social media. The ads are offering, shall we say, very good terms, very good location, and they're looking for a quick deposit, and they want it now to secure it, and people are paying the quick deposits, and then they're realising that the accommodation doesn't exist, or the person has taken a deposit from numerous people or is not entitled to sublet or let the accommodation in the first place.
And the figures we're talking about are significant to an individual, but they're clever enough, aren't they, that they don't pitch it so high as that to be a red flag. So we have the average victim last month losing €1,729 each, which I say is a significant sum. One person losing over €3,500 to a fraudster. Are these exclusively or mainly deposits that have been paid to, make sure that the accommodation is secure before someone else gets it?
Yeah, that was actually a snapshot of 1 week in the month of July. Not all those victims are students. Some of them were people who were moving to Ireland looking to secure accommodation, were moving to work or to go to college here as well. Some were actually Irish victims looking for accommodation for holidays. So they're a mishmash of everything. Generally speaking, with the students, it's a month's rent in advance or a security or something like that is what they lose. So the figures can change depending on what the type of fraud it is, shall we say.
Yeah. And when do they generally realise that they have been defrauded of, say, for instance, a deposit in the first month's rent? Is it when they land down to collect a key, or do they just disappear, the person they're in contact with, once the money's been deposited, or what's the story there?
Again, unfortunately, it can be sometimes when the victim turns up at the accommodation and or they turn up to meet the landlord, shall we say, and he doesn't turn up or she doesn't turn up and there's no keys, or the keys handed over don't work, or they arrive at accommodation to discover there's people already in it, or they arrive at the accommodation to discover it's not for rent in the first place. And we have had cases of people who moved to Ireland and arrive into Ireland prepared to start working, shall we say, or go to college, and arrive at accommodation, and it's at that stage they realise that they have been defrauded and they have no accommodation and they're in a strange country.
Rather than maybe go through what the do's and don'ts are in terms of trying to get accommodation on social media, do you want to go down that route, or are you at the point now where you're saying, look, don't look for property on social media? There are letting agents out there that you can actually speak to a human about. Go that route.
Yeah, there's a number of red flags. First of all, we would advise people to look out for. One is where the accommodation is only advertised through a social media advertisement. So if you see something on social media, have a look to see is it advertised elsewhere. It's a red flag. It doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with it, but it is a red flag. How payment is sought as well. How the person, if they'll only contact you via WhatsApp or some kind of messaging service, don't want to speak to you, or they have some kind of excuses always for not meeting you, that they're out of the country or they're X or they're Y. That's a red flag as well. Or if they're looking for a bank transfer to a bank account outside the jurisdiction, or they're looking to be paid in some kind of vouchers or cryptocurrency, again, they're red flags.
And ironically, also, if they seem too trustful of you, you actually want them to be checking up on you, don't you, really? Because that would be the norm.
That absolutely, yeah. Like if you were renting an accommodation to somebody, you would be checking out on them. You'd be making sure they are who they say they are as well. Because you don't want to be conned, or you don't want to be renting your apartment out to somebody who's untrustworthy. So again, if it's almost a red flag if it's too easy. If straight away they say, yes, this is it, you just pay me, and no questions asked, it's a red flag. Mm-hmm. And the advice we would give is you need to do your research on the advertisement. Don't trust the picture, the ad you have been seeing or have been shown. And ideally, you use recognized letting agencies. Or you deal with the college, talk to the students' union in the college. Or there's loads of websites as well which give very good advice, the likes of the Residential Tenancy Board's website, students' unions themselves. You have the Banking and Payments Federation, their Fraud Smart website, the Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, CPPC. As I said, all of the universities as well. Ideally, you use it, as I said, you use a recognised letting agency, and you protect your data as well, protect your personal data.
Because you can imagine the scenario around the kitchen table, mum or dad on the laptop, and maybe the student over their shoulder, or those roles could be reversed. We can't let this one go. This is perfect. It's within walking distance. Come on, they're only looking for this, that, and done. That's where the time pressure is there, and something seems so good to be true. I think that's where we have to pause for thought, isn't it? Detective Superintendent Michael Cryan, do you think social media companies are doing enough in relation to this? I wonder, because I do note there was one property here in West Donegal that was up for a Airbnb, and I think people were defrauded mostly from Northern Ireland out of tens of thousands of euro. And the advert sat there for months on end. Even there was actually a campaign sprung out of the north on Facebook to try and remove this ad. I just wonder, or maybe would be just barking up the wrong tree to say, could we ever expect the social media companies to be a bit more responsible in allowing these type of adverts on their platforms, or do we have to just rely on ourselves to see the fraud?
I can't really comment on individual cases involving individual social media companies. Again, I suppose they have to be informed, they have to be made aware of them by people as well. I wouldn't know enough, and I wouldn't like to comment on their approach to these things.
No problem. But the advice is there, and we do appreciate it, and it's timely, as I say, at the moment. Detective Superintendent Michael Cryan, thank you so much for your time. Now, we've got a quiz running all week on this programme, the 9 till noon show. It's in advance of National Heritage Week. That runs from the 17th to the 25th of August. And on the show today, we've got 2 family heritage cards. They're valued at €90 each to give away. These cards offer access for one family, that's 2 adults and up to 5 children, to over 45 OPW managed heritage sites across the country. Now, you can visit any or all attractions as often as you like during the Heritage Card's validity period. See heritageweek.ie for all event listings for County Donegal and across the country indeed. To win, which heritage place are we talking about? Sitting beside Garton, so peace and so still. A house and a garden given to us by the artist Derek Hill. So where are we talking about? I'm going to put peaceful in here instead of peace, okay? Sitting beside Garton, so peaceful and so still. A house and garden given to us by the artist Derek Hill. What is the answer? Text or WhatsApp your answer. Text or WhatsApp your answer, name and address to 08660 25000, 08660 25000, or email comments at highlandradio.com. And just to let you know that the theme for National Heritage Week 2024 is Connections, Roots and Networks, celebrating how we connect to each other and the connections that bring us together. So text or WhatsApp your answer, name and address to 08660 25000, and the clue is a house and garden sitting beside Garden, so peaceful and so still, a house and garden given to us by the artist Derek Hill. What is the answer? Text us 08660 25000 or email comments at highlandradio.com. Now, just to let you know that next month we mentioned this with Lee Gooch, and I want to be careful not to over push this, but at the same time to push it, right? So next month, the Donegal Camino is taking place. Noel Cunningham is behind that. Of course, he's very involved in the Cancer Care West Donegal charity. It's an amazing charity. We all know that, don't we? Or we will find out. That's just the nature of cancer, and when the help is there when we need it. It's a remarkable service they provide. So many people have availed of it. So many of our family members have availed of it as well. And it's inconspicuous. It's down there in Letterkenny, and people call in and get the services and the benefits that they need. We were down there for a show, and it was amazing. And speaking to people who've used the services, it's amazing the impact it had on them. And it was also really interesting the mood down there, right? It was a mood of hope and a mood of support and stuff. Don't know how to phrase it, but I think you know what I'm saying. Now, I've never done this before. I probably won't do it too often, but I'm going to take part of the Donegal Camino. And I'm going to try through my social media and through this show to ask you to be as generous as possible, if you can afford anything at all, to support me in this walk and actually to support Donegal Cancer Care West Donegal. And I've an I Donate Me page, believe it or not. It's idonate.ie/Greg Hughes. Simple as that, idonate.ie/Greg Hughes. If you could donate anything, and people have already been so incredibly generous, if you can donate anything, or maybe you're a business and you want to, and I'll give you a plug, don't worry about that. If you want to support Donegal Cancer Care West, please go on to that link, idonate.ie/Greg Hughes. It's at the top of my social media if you want to search out Greg Hughes there, and anything at all would be so greatly appreciated. And we'll try and have a bit of fun with it too, loads of pictures and maybe videos and stuff from the day itself. We're only launching it today. We don't really know where it's going to go from here, but Noel Cunningham's going to join us about 10:30 just to remind us of the important work of that amazing centre, but also to hopefully help you, encourage you to dig deep. Right, okay. So idonate.ie/Greg Hughes. It's really quite simple, and I'd really, really appreciate any support. As I say, I've never asked before, so if you have a spare $5 or a $10 or whatever it might be, please, your support would be greatly appreciated. Okay, the Polestar. It's going to be immortalised on a stamp, or is in fact. We're going to talk about that after this short break.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Because your no claims bonus matters to you, it matters to us. That's why all AXA car insurance policies include accident forgiveness as standard. So you'll never lose all of your no claims bonus if you have an accident or a claim is made against you. Get a quote today at axa.ie. AXA. Know you can. Policy terms and conditions apply. Accident forgiveness is step back. No claims discount protection for customers with 4 or more years. No claims discount. AXA Insurance DAC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Football is back. Get ready to cross the white line. Step into some new football boots from Brian McCormick Sports. Soft and firm ground boots from Adidas and Puma. Compression shorts and tops, matched up with your favourite socks and shorts. If you're getting championship ready or togging out for your local team in the Donegal League, click bmcsports.ie or call into Brian McCormick Sports, Main Street, Letterkenny.
Join the first ever Donegal Mela on August 17th at Angrinnan Theatre Plaza from 1 till 5 p.m. Enjoy vibrant Indian culture with live music, dance, workshops, kids' activities and more. Don't miss this cultural celebration by the Indian Community Centre, Letterkenny, supported by Donegal County Council and Creative Ireland. For more info, visit letterkennyindians.ie.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhinney's. Support local at McElhinney's. With 53 years experience in fashion, beauty and home, we're here for you. Plus, enjoy M-Card rewards when you shop in-store at McElhinney's Ballybuffet.
Right, so mild, cloudy and breezy to begin with today, with scattered outbreaks of rain and drizzle giving way to brighter, drier and sunnier conditions, with just the odd light shower spreading from the west through this morning and early afternoon. Temperatures of 17 to 19 degrees. The pole star, installed in Letterkenny in 2006, has been chosen to be immortalised on a stamp. Its creator, Lockie Morris, is with us now. Good morning, Lockie.
Morning.
Right, how does it feel to see your work immortalised on a stamp?
Yeah, it was a really lovely surprise. Lovely surprise, I've got to say. I can't deny that. So, no, it's, yeah, what can I say?
Yeah,
the sort of thing. Yeah, sort of thing might happen to you when you're dead, you know. So it's happening. So I'm very grateful.
Talk to us about the concept of it, of this, and its inception and design.
Yeah, public competition, you know, as these things are. So you do respond to a brief, you know, and you look at the brief and see what people are interested in. You might, you know, the history of the area, or you know, there's a couple of railway bridges that passed there and no longer there, you know, and then there was Port Ballyrain. Well, the port's not really there anymore, but they used to deliver goods just right beside it used to be called Port Ballyrain Roundabout, you know. So I kind of read about that and then tried to respond to that, you know, in an artwork in some way, you know. So those were the kind of themes that I had in mind, you know, when I was trying to come up with a design. But at a certain point, you have to leave those things aside and then try and dream something up, you know. So I started wondering the idea that the electricity. The poles for the electricity, electrification of rural Ireland during the 40s and 50s would have been landed there, right beside where the roundabout is now. So I thought, you know, my first thought was, I wonder could I do anything with poles, electricity poles? And that was the starting point, you know. And I made a very, very small model out of cocktail sticks to begin with, you know, and then I sort of built it up from there. And I looked at the form and I thought, that looks like a nice form. I wonder could that stand up.
When you were designing it, did you want it to sort of tell a different story or have a different look from each approach, or was your focus on traffic coming into Letterkenny? Obviously, it seems to face that way, but you could argue, and this is open to the viewer, I suppose, you could argue that it you know, it's a different picture regardless of which way you approach the roundabout.
Yeah. When I come up with the design, you know, and I thought, oh, wait, it is a stage thing, because you're speculating on things, and because it's a unique thing, that's not been done before. You make decisions along the way as you go along. You make one decision and another decision. I mean, I remember down with Mark Hill would have been the guy that built it, and then Dennis Doherty from Bunclane, he also built it. I mean, I just laboured on it really, you know. So these were two construction geniuses, you know, people that are really good at their things. But I remember, you know, Mark being on the roundabout with the model, you know, this was before it was there, and I'm trying to figure out which is the best position for this, you know, and then turn around about, you know, I was on phones, turn around. That's about it, you know, with the model, you know. So that wasn't, you know, as I say, you take it stage at a time. But yeah, 4 different views are good, and then you're trying to get that view, that main view when you're coming up the road, you know, that Port Road, and you can sort of see the circle and you got the sky in the background. So Yeah.
And also too, at times too, what it reminds me of many different things. But there's some quite famous pictures of Bad Eddie, a boat I'm sure you're familiar with.
Yes.
You know, just the way some of the poles strut out there. That talks to the boating history of that area too. I presume it's not an accident.
Yeah, no, you do, as I say, you try to absorb what people are asking, about the railways and the history of the area and the history of the port, and then, you try and absorb those things, and then you hope that those things are referenced. I mean, it's an abstract thing, but it does seem to reference all these different things, and it wasn't deliberate, it wasn't really, I wasn't coming out, I wasn't super conscious of that. You just start to make things with a model in real life, and then things turn up, surprises turn up, and go, oh look, that looks quite railway-like. It looks quite boat-like.
Mm-hmm.
It's got all these kind of resonances to it, I thought, wow, I could be onto something here, So that was as much a surprise to me, as to people when they see it,
And the circular shape, was that sort of just something that came through design and looked pretty?
It came with the design, I thought I'll start off with triangles, They're quite strong structural shape. As a kid, I used to make triangles with lollipop sticks and turn them into little things things you could fly. Like I used to watch those what do you call those kung fu films where they had these things that flew each other as boys. So I used to make them as a wee kid. So I just tried out triangles. It really was. You start off playing, really.
Yeah. For me, and I'm not artistic, but obviously, when you're talking about the past and you're talking about rail and you talk about boat, there then becomes sort of like a portal element to it, if you know what I mean, the circular shape, if you wanted to think down that route.
That's right. It's a directional thing. I mean, obviously roundabouts are all about direction, which way you're going to go round, and also it references that, and the name came up halfway through it. I thought poles and then star. Well, it's got that, that sort of traffic directions, sort of, that's sci-fi, but kind of like sci-fi, and it's sort of like the stars, and you're kind of something to, I don't know, steer yourself.
One other thing I was curious about is the scale, right? So when this was being put out there and submissions were being sought, were you given an idea of the scale? Because if you weren't, you would think, right, I'm actually asking them to build this out of 104 timber poles and it's going to be 12 metres high. They could have just gone for a tin man on a tin horse or something like that there. But were you given an idea of how big it was allowed to be? So as
I think that they had a competition before and they didn't get into it. They were looking for a landmark. They were looking for something landmark, and the budget. Well, the budget wasn't. It just sort of you kind of speculate on something. I wonder could it make this? I mean, I think at the start I had about 260. Poles in it, and I thought, now when I went to do it, I thought, going, God, that's far too many, and they're too thin. It needs to be thicker so you can see it, so it has more substance, so it's got more presence on the thing. So it's a very big roundabout, so you've got, if you stick a small thing on there, it's just, you're not going to see it, so you're having to play around with all those things, so, no, I mean, I give it to them, and it says, well, Donegal County Council, Letterkenny County Council, and all the people were completely behind it. I make a presentation to a group of people and convince them that this thing could be made, even though the best, it is a speculation. You're thinking because you have to kind of trust on people that you're going to do your best to try to realise it. So, but they could not have been any more behind it, and that's really a really important thing when you're doing something like this, And
also too, you also have I mean, we have a lot of artists, and they have their art in galleries or on shows, and you try and encourage people to get in, and you discount them getting in.
Yeah.
You're in the situation where whether people like it or not, you've got an audience that is captivated because they're sitting looking at it as they wait 10 minutes to get into Letterkenny. So that's a bonus as well.
That is an absolute bonus. I mean, that's something where people stop you, because it's so public, and that's why it can be so painful if people don't like it or whatever. But it's you can't go on like Rick Rubin, the great producer, says, art has to split opinion. The good art has to split opinion.
But I don't really think it's split that opinion, and it's instantly become a landmark. Instantly, sometimes things sort of have to grow and people have different. This is the Polestar roundabout, and that's the Polestar, and it is just that. And just then, finally, I mean, obviously, stamps aren't as significant as they once were, but in a way, they still remain incredibly significant, particularly sort of in recognising, culture or influential people or influential installations. So it still is a big deal for your work to be immortalised, and it is immortalised forever on a stamp. It's really lovely. I think it's a lovely thing.
All right, thank you. I'm over the moon about it. It's fantastic.
Fantastic too. Listen, great to chat to you. Actually, to just get a bit of an insight into the thinking behind it all. It's been lovely speaking to you, Lockie.
No, thanks for having me. It's
all
been
right,
great.
take care of yourself. Bye-bye. That's Lockie Morris, the creator of the Polestar Roundabout, reacting to the great news that it's up since 2006. Can you imagine? Reacting to the great news that it is to be immortalised on a stamp. What do you think of that? Great news, I think. 08660 25,000. Right, it is the 9 till noon show. Coming up in the next hour will be Community Garda information. It is Tuesday, of course, so we've got Community Garda information for you, where you will hear the latest appeals and information from An Garda Síochána here live and first on Highland Radio. So tune in for that. If you want to watch that, you can hop on YouTube or Facebook. You're more than welcome to do that, and you can see what's going on as well. Also, Noel Cunningham will join us a little later on as we talk about the Donegal Camino, looking for as many of you as possible to get involved in that, and also maybe to help me rattle the bucket for our little fundraiser we're running on this show. That and so much more besides. But stand by, we're going to take a break now for the news and obituary notices, and then we'll return with all of that just after 10.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
Imagine a wedding venue that can be hired exclusively for you and your guests. Picture stunning views overlooking one of Donegal's most scenic beaches, an authentic country manor as your accommodation, incredible glass-fronted marquee views all day, and a team of experts who want to help you plan every step of the way. Sounds too good to be true? Not at Drumhalla House in Rathmullen. It really has to be seen to be believed. Visit drumhallahouse.ie or check out Drumhalla House on Instagram for more details.
Did you know Cool Kids Sligo have the biggest range of baby equipment in the Northwest, with 25 years of baby expertise? Cool Kids Sligo take deposits on your baby bundle. Visit us in-store at Cool Kids Sligo or shop online at babyaccessories.ie for free nationwide delivery. Make Cool Kids Sligo your #1 destination for all things baby.
There's Monster Bingo tonight and every Tuesday night at Mulroy Woods Hotel, Milford. €3,250 must go. Doors open at 7:30. Bingo starts at 8:30. That's Monster Bingo tonight at Mulroy Woods Hotel, Milford.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Donald Kavanagh at the news desk. Uisce Éireann says crews are working to repair a major water main burst affecting Ballybofey and Stranora this morning. They say homes and businesses in the Twin Towns and surrounding areas are experiencing a disruption to their water supply, but every effort is being made to return normal supplies as quickly as possible. Crews have been mobilised and Uisce Éireann says they expect repairs to be complete by 6 o'clock this evening. The MP for Foyle is calling on communities in Derry to protect their children. It's after some were involved in disorder and attacks on police in the Nailers Row area over the weekend. Colm Eastwood, the SDLP leader, is calling for calm ahead of anti-interment bonfires which are being lit on Thursday night. He says work is continuing to deter people from taking part in antisocial behaviour.
There's been fantastic work by the Fela, the community workers and volunteers to get kids off the street and to give them positive things to be involved in. But this is something we contend with every year, something that we have to keep working at. The discussions are continuing, but it's going to be difficult. If people are determined to have a bonfire, that's one thing. What we have to do is ensure that there's no violence in the streets.
Meanwhile, police in Belfast have charged an 11-year-old boy with rioting and throwing petrol bombs in the south of the city last month. It's in connection with disorder in the Broadway roundabout area on July 15th. The child is due before a youth court early next month. Killybegs Coast Guard responded to incidents yesterday afternoon. In the first, members were tasked to a fallen hill walker on Slieve League. She'd sustained a lower leg injury and was given first aid before being stretchered to the car park where there was a waiting ambulance. In the second incident, a young cyclist fell off their bike and sustained a head injury in a remote area outside Ardra. The Coast Guard assisted the National Ambulance Service and the crew of Rescue 118, who brought the casualty to hospital via helicopter. Only 7.23% of all new vehicles sold in Donegal in the first 6 months of the year were electric, one of the lowest rates in the country. Figures collated by the Irish Independent showed 25% were hybrid and 67.8% run on fossil fuel. Meanwhile, it's been suggested drivers in rural areas should get larger grants toward the cost of electric vehicles. Former Environment Minister Richard Bruton believes the government needs to double down on electrification. Transportation Professor Brian Caulfield from Trinity College in Dublin says cost could be a major factor in what he believes is a rural-urban divide.
We've done some research on this that does show that in the more affluent areas of the country, which tend to be the urban areas around Dublin and Cork and the other cities, that there's a much higher take-up of these electric cars. They tend to be the second car that people are purchasing. So it could be a cost thing.
Stormont's Economy Minister is to sign off on a major investment for projects in Strabane Town Centre. The funding is intended to support the transformation of local infrastructure and amenities as part of the city deal. With more, here is Katie Gillen.
Finance Minister Kiva Archibald confirmed that she is to sign off on the Executive's financial contribution to the city deal in September, which includes an investment of £103 million for Strabane Town Centre projects, which represents the biggest ever capital investment in the town. The funding will see the Canal Basin area completely transformed with a new leisure centre, a new build for the NWRC and a new civic space. The current Tech Hub building will become the Health Hub. A footbridge will also be built that links the bus station to Lower Main Street. DFI confirmed in June that a shortfall in excess of £4 million of the projected £10.4 million cost of the new footbridge is to be covered by the department's active travel budget.
And the Russian President Vladimir Putin has warned the Ukrainian army's invasion of the Kursk border region will be dealt with swiftly. More than 100,000 residents have had to flee after almost a week of intensifying fighting. Last night, Russia launched 38 drones and 2 ballistic missiles into Ukraine. The Ukrainian Air Force says it managed to destroy 30 of the drones but didn't indicate if the others had hit any targets. Military analyst Professor Michael Clark says he expects Russian forces to counter the Ukrainian attack with all their available resources.
This battle, it will be quite a battle. This will be measured in days and weeks, not weeks and months. The Russians they'll put whatever is needed to get rid of this pocket. This is Russian territory. They'll do whatever it takes. And so if they have to redeploy their big units, they will do. I'm absolutely certain about that.
Weather forecast: mild, cloudy and breezy to begin with today. Scattered outbreaks of rain and drizzle, but they'll give way to brighter, drier and sunnier conditions with just the odd light shower as the morning goes on. The showers will spread from the west through the morning and early afternoon. Highs of 17 to 19 degrees Celsius, moderate to fresh and gusty southwest winds, easing and becoming west to northwest with that ongoing clearance. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with news headlines again at 11 o'clock. Check all of the latest news on our website, highlandradio.com. But for now, from the news team, good morning. The obituary notices for this Tuesday morning, the 13th of August. The death has occurred of Bosco Lynch, Maymore St Johnson. Bosco is reposing at his brother Michael's residence at Maymore St Johnson. Funeral cortege from there tomorrow morning at 11:15, going to St Bathan's Church, St Johnson for 12 noon Requiem Mass, with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. The death has taken place of Sharon Kildare, 17 Cranaview, Buncrana. Sharon's remains are reposing at her family home. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 10:30, going to St Mary's Church, Cockhill for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass, with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. The house is strictly private to family and friends only, please. The death has occurred of Anne McDevitt, Annagry, reposing at her residence until 9 o'clock this evening. Funeral tomorrow morning at 11 in St Mary Star of the Sea Church, Annagry, followed by burial in the adjoining cemetery. House private, please, before the funeral tomorrow. And the death has taken place of May Lynch, née Doherty, 37 Dr McGinley Road, Glencar, Letterkenny. Funeral from there this morning at 10:30, going to St Eunan's Cathedral, Letterkenny, for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass, which can be viewed on churchservices.tv. Interment afterwards in Newleck Cemetery. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu of flowers if desired to Hillcrest Nursing Home Comfort Fund, care of any family member. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Is féidir le drogaí áine sa dul a bhaid mar tar bhela éagsúla, ach cuireann siad ar fad isteachart agus tú ag tomaint. Is féidir le roinnt drogaí tú bhfuilú, rud a ágan bhfuil buailán go nginine tú botún. Cuireann drogaí eile farragar tí bhír don ruistúrtha. Bhín tú ag tomaint ruisciúpaí Má bhín tú ag tomaint faoi cheannachar drogaí is féidir leis tusa do chuid passionéirí agus daoine eile ar a móthar a chur a míl. Ná tomaint faoi cheannachar drogaí go brach, ónúdar as umhaváilteocht ar bmhóide. Tour court at rsa.ie.
All right, coming up very shortly, we'll be joined by Garda Clare for Community Garda information. We'll bring you the very latest appeals and information from An Garda Síochána live for you here. Just a quick reminder before we take the bingo numbers that, as you may well know, there's a big giveaway, a cash giveaway, 2,000. Wouldn't it be nice? Well, what about 20? 10 times that. €20,000 of cash is to be won over the next 3 or 4 weeks. And we have a big draw on this show on Friday, $2.5 grand. We'll be giving away every Friday over the next 3 weeks. 4 weeks, isn't it? Yeah, 4 weeks. $2.5 grand this Friday, the following Friday, the following Friday, the following Friday, and on that Friday as well, the 6th of September, €10,000. It's straight. You don't have to answer your phone calls. There's no complications. If you can afford it and you can do it for fun, you can buy a ticket, and it could be you. And this is for us here in the Northwest, for mostly Donegal, Derry, Tyrone listeners. So you enter some of those draws for this, that and on Facebook or other social medias, and they're great, by the way, great fun. I'm not playing them down. But, you know, tens of thousands of people enter. This is a little draw for us here, and your chances are greater. And that's not a misclaim, because it's one in whatever the amount of people that enter, and it's going to be much lower than some of those massive competitions. But the prize remains massive. But you have really over the next couple of days to buy a ticket if you want to be in all of the draws. So that means effectively one ticket gets you into 5 draws. 4 for $2.5 grand, 1 for 10 grand. Tickets are €10 if you just want to buy one ticket. If you want to group together or yourself, you can get 6 for 50, so you get a free ticket, or you can get 10 for 80. It all depends on you, your resources, and the bit of crack that you wish to have. So if you want to be in with a chance of being in all of those draws, you really have until Friday to get your tickets. So get them right now if you can. There's supposed to be a jingle for me to play. I don't have a jingle on my hotkeys. I don't know where it is, but that's fine. I'll do the jingling. Right, so you can get on our website, highlandradio.com. It's simple to enter. As I say, there's no call back, so you don't have to be sitting by your phone and answering 5 rings or anything like that there. It's a straight-up draw. You buy your ticket. If your ticket's out, we'll get the money to you. Simple as. And the more you buy, obviously, the better chance you have. If you don't do social media, or if you don't do online, then give us a call on 07491 25000. There will be a bit of a rush heading towards Friday, so maybe get it out of the way now if you wish. If you don't use the internet, if you don't want to give your cards online, it's perfectly secure, but there are some people who would prefer to just ring us up and we can do it that way, or you can call in. So the first $2.5 grand is given away in this show on Friday. So if you want to be in with a chance to win that, the 3 other $2.5 grands and the 10 grand, then now's a good time to get your tickets if you're going to. Right, and we've got a great array of listeners. I think all the listeners so far have been all the winners so far have been from within Donegal, of all the draws that I've been involved in any case. And some have been single tickets, others have been multiple tickets. People have given tickets as presents, and their ticket came out, and they've won that prize as well, the person who was put down as a winning ticket. Okay, so 086 is the number. I'm not going to read out because it's got nothing to do with this. Website, highlandradio.com. You'll see the Mega Summer Draw. Click on that, buy your tickets there, or give us a call now on 07491 25000. As I say, there will be a rush on Friday because that's just the way these things are. And We try to avoid it, but invariably, when we're trying to process, particularly for the phone calls so much at the last minute, it's potentially a possibility that some could miss out. So get in early now if you want. There's 4 prizes of $2.5 grand, 1 prize of 10 grand. It'll be given away each Friday up until the 6th of September, where 12,500 will be divvied out. Okay, if you want to get involved in that, please do.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio. The Community Garda information slot is brought to you by Sheridan Security Systems, protecting what you value most. Call today and get your zero-wire alarm system from €299. Sheridan Security, 91-26025.
Now, Caroline and Claire pulling hamstrings running to get to us on time. That's coming up after this break.
It's time for Vision Ireland Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Tuesday the 13th of August. You're playing on the brown sheet. The reference number is S2. It's game number 33. The numbers are 41, 43, 28, 27, 68, 58, 11, 3, 88, and finally 72. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Vision Ireland bingo information at highlandradio.com.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Anhfuil tú a dhónaíonn in anal, anhfuil tú Gary Wesálann el gan an bank a bhrisú, Tá Big Red Cloud a báirt le KW agus bordaide hais agus áilína win anal ag cursrai Claire áilína a leor chamad agus péróla sír náisce sé sír náisce ar foiil. Tá ga cursa ar foiil ar líne le schedule fólama sa lupa ag amana a tá fórsinna ditse. Cur an Big Red Cloud ar chumas fólamóí na bhfuil éonálas acu ribh seo Wesálann el I béróla agus contais. Cláirí inniu ag bigredcloud.com/antásaí training. Sír náisce, jefnithe agus janta ar de luas féin. A thóir tugat ag ETB win anal.
Nutrius Winning Crunch in on promotion at your local Homeland store. Buy 10 bags of Nutrius Winning Crunch ATP, get 1 free, or get €15 off per tonne in bulk. The Nutrius Beef ATP pack enhances animal performance through maximising rumen efficiency. T's and C's apply. Contact your local Homeland or farm commercial specialist today. Visit nutrius.ie for full product details.
Secalathe ama Highland Radio. Arna dúirtugat ag Airgrid. Uproar agus forbor an go letrachas na haireann. Airgrid. Pobal a guachtu, éire a guachtu. Tá sé?
Okay, it is 14 minutes past 9.
The Community Garda information slot is brought to you by Sheridan Security Systems, protecting what you value most. Call today and get your zero-wire alarm system from €299. Sheridan Security, 91-26025.
Now, Garda Claire Rafferty is down to us from Milford Garda Station. Good morning, Claire. Thank you so much for calling in.
Morning, Greg.
Appreciate it as always. Okay, let's get straight into appeals. And this one in relation to an alleged assault in St Johnstone.
Yeah, so Garda are appealing for witnesses to an alleged assault that occurred near the cricket club in St Johnstone on Friday the 9th of August at approximately 10 p.m. A male youth was at that location with his friends when he was approached by 2 males and a female. He was then assaulted by the 2 males. He was taken to Letterkenny University Hospital to receive treatment for his injuries sustained, none of which are life-threatening in nature. So we appeal to anyone who may have travelled in that area between 9:30 p.m. and 10:15 p.m. who may have had dash cam to make the footage available to us. If anyone witnessed this incident or they observed the 3 people in question or their mode of transport, we ask them to make contact with us in Letterkenny at 074 9167 100. Any relevant information will be welcome, and of course the Garda confidential line may be reached on 1-800-666-111.
Yeah, and someone has info out there, and the sooner these people are dealt with, the better. Another assault, an alleged assault this time in Clonmany.
Yeah, so we're seeking witnesses to this one that was on the main street in Clonmany in the early hours of Thursday, the 8th of August, so between midnight and 12:30, so essentially Wednesday night. A male youth was assaulted by another male at that location, and he sustained non-life-threatening injuries as a result. If anyone witnessed this incident or they have any relevant information, we ask them to make contact with the Garda in Buncrana there, and their number's 074 93 205 40.
Now, an unusual appeal this time because it doesn't happen too often, and that'll become clear, I suppose, through the course of the appeal, Claire.
Yeah, so we've a number of burglaries. We'll start Buncrana. Gardaí are investigating 2 burglaries that occurred at the same business premises at Lisfannon Industrial Estate over the course of 2 days. So the first one occurred between 8:45 p.m. on Monday the 5th of August and 9 a.m. on Tuesday the 6th of August. And then the second burglary occurred between 10:30 p.m. and 11 p.m. on Tuesday the 6th of August. So damage was caused to a fence in order to gain entry to the premises. A quantity of wooden pallets were stolen during the course of both burglaries. So if anyone observed suspicious activity in the area between the above dates and times, or if they've any relevant information, we ask them to contact Buncrana on 074 93 205 40.
Yeah, and seeing burglary, seeing pallets being loaded ordinarily wouldn't pique interest, but given the fact that it was a burglary, hopefully people knew what went on. Very unusual that we have an appeal whereby the same premises is targeted twice. Your Garda colleagues in Ballyshannon investigating a burglary in Mount Charles.
Yeah, we've a number of incidents now in Mount Charles. We'll start with this burglary that occurred at a garage in the area of Drumconnor, Mount Charles, between 1 p.m. on Sunday the 11th of August and 8:30 a.m. on Monday the 12th of August. So damage was caused to the rear door of the building and entry was gained. A large quantity of tools and car diagnostics equipment was stolen from the premises. A list of what was actually stolen is being compiled at the minute. So should anyone come across a large amount of tools or car diagnostic equipment for sale on a second-hand basis, please give us a ring, let us know. And we appeal to anyone who may have observed any type of suspicious activity or vehicles in the area between those times to make contact with the Garda in Ballyshannon on 071 9858 530. And again, the Garda confidential line 1800 666 111.
Now, a car breaker's premises in the area also targeted.
Yeah, this one occurred in the area of Drumconnor, again in Mount Charles, at approximately 12:35 a.m. on Monday the 12th of August. So we have CCTV in this area, so we've narrowed down the time to 12:35 a.m. A quantity of tools were stolen from the premises. They are a Milwaukee grinder, Milwaukee impact wrench, 2 Milwaukee batteries, and a Milwaukee SBS hammer action drill. So if anyone travelled in that area or within the general area of Mount Charles between midnight and 1:30 a.m. or indeed at any stage that morning with a dash cam, we ask them to make contact with us. And again, same as the last, should anyone come across these type of tools for sale on a second-hand basis, or if they have any relevant information, please contact Ballyshannon Garda Station on 071 9858 530.
Yeah, and that number will be useful for the next appeal, which is again targeting the Drumconnor area of Mount Charles.
Yeah, so this is the theft of a quad bike from a shed in the area of Drumconnor, Mount Charles, between 1:30 p.m. on Sunday, the 11th of August, and 9:30 a.m. on Monday, the 12th of August. So the quad had been removed from the shed and then it was abandoned a short distance away. The ignition barrel had then been removed from it. So again, we appeal to anyone who may have observed suspicious activity in the area of Drumconnor between those times to make contact with Garda in Ballyshannon.
Now, obviously, because of CCTV, one of these instances can be, strictly timelined, but there's a similarity to these this activity over a period of time. So I presume, and we can't discuss the operational element of this on the show, but the fact they could be linked presumably will form part of this investigation.
It is likely, however, we can't rule anything out, so we'll be looking for any information at all that can lead us to answers to this.
Right, I suppose with those incidences in mind and the cover of darkness, whether we like to face the facts or not, the cover of darkness on its way as well. Is there any advice you can offer to home and business premises, I suppose, from a security perspective?
Yeah, well, look, there's a number of steps that'll help in that regard. So we'd start simply by securing your garages and outbuildings with proper locking mechanisms and secure your windows and doors at your home. Review the perimeter lighting and upgrade it where necessary, because lighting is an effective deterrent to criminal activity. Check on older neighbours and people who live alone. Keep an eye on them. If they need anything updated or that, give them a hand, help them out with that. Be vigilant for the movement of cars and vans in rural areas, particularly during the hours of darkness. If something doesn't look right or feel right, give us a ring.
Yeah.
We'll
and I
check
think
it
that
out.
may be one thing I hope we're not losing, is this sort of sense of community and keeping our eyes and ears open for each other, not wanting to be seen as a snooper or a curtain twitcher. If something's out of place, you're not bothering the Gardaí by passing that information on. Listen, not necessarily 5 cars with sirens blaring are going to arrive, but it forms part of the intelligence and what have you, and the Gardaí are out and about and can use that information.
Absolutely. We'd rather deter these crimes before they happen than investigate them after they've happened when it's essentially too late. So don't be afraid to give us a ring. And if everything is in order, that's fine too. We'll have it checked out.
And in relation to, I suppose, back to the basics again, but often it's what we forget, what we keep on our property and how we secure it. Also some advice in that regard.
Yes, so don't keep large amounts of cash at home. Take note of serial numbers of any expensive equipment or machinery and photograph them, and any valuables you have, such as jewellery and electronics. Always keep a record of them as well, because sometimes people forget some of the things they have, and keep them photographs and serial numbers in a safe place. And then give us a ring. We have the district headquarters here, which are 24/7. They are Letterkenny, and you can reach them on 074 9167 100. Buncrana 074 93 205 40. Ourselves out in Milford 074 915 3060, and the guards in Ballyshannon can be reached on 071 9858 530.
And just in relation to all of those incidents in Mount Charles, these are local businesses supporting local jobs as well, and their tools of the trade have been stolen from them. It's very likely those responsible won't want to sit on this stuff. So, and it might not appear to be from Donegal where the stuff's being advertised, but we know where this stuff can pop up, and I think people are you've seen the advice. There'll be a full list available on the Garda Síochána Facebook page a little later on, and just keep your eye out for it and try and deter this type of horrible activity, which is robbing people of the ability to make their livelihood in many cases. We are going to stick with attempted burglary, stroke thefts, and head to Bundoran this time.
Yeah, so the Garda in Ballyshannon are investigating an attempted theft from a business premises on the Atlantic Way, Bundoran, at approximately 10:25 p.m. on Sunday the 11th of August. So 2 men entered the premises and one of them attempted to force open a cash box. Thankfully the attempt was unsuccessful, but damage was caused to the cash box. The men left immediately when they were confronted. So we appeal to any road users who have dashcam, who may have travelled in the area of the Atlantic Way or within Bundoran town between 10 and 11 p.m. last Sunday night, to make the footage available to us, or if anyone can assist with relevant information, just give us a ring at Ballyshannon Garda Station there as well.
Okay, some questions, and there was a question about policing of festivals. You want to speak directly to that listener?
Yeah, so a caller from last week had a specific question in relation to the policing of the Downings Festival. We advise that caller to contact us out in Milford on 074 915 3060, and you can speak to a sergeant there in relation to your concerns. So with the question here was, on Saturday night a man was found lying unconscious on the side of the road. Passerby phoned an ambulance. That man is still very ill in hospital. Should the guards be notified? Does the ambulance notify the guards? Or the Gardaí never made contact with the man's family?
Interesting question.
So if a person is unconscious or injured in any way at the side of the road, priority here is always going to be to get them medical assistance, because that's what's important. We deal with that first. Gardaí are not usually notified of medical emergencies unless a crime is suspected to have been committed, or unless the ambulance crew need our assistance.
So the ambulance crew are going to arrive on scene. Their priority is to stabilise the person, get them to hospital. They can't necessarily make a determination of whether crime has been committed or not, so we can't expect them to notify Gardaí. But they might, dependent on the circumstances.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If they suspect that there might be something untoward here, they can notify us. And again, as we call an injured party, they can notify us. Anyone that contacts us to make a complaint, we'll be in touch with them and we'll take that complaint.
I suppose really too, don't leave it to someone else. If you have your concerns, contact Gardaí and make them aware of it. We do maybe sometimes do that as well, and that's no criticism of the listener at all. Right, an open day taking place this coming Saturday.
Yeah, so Letterkenny Fire Station is having an open day this Saturday, August 17th, between midday and 4 p.m. We'll be there as well with an information stand, and we'll also display some of our services. It's always a great day's crack and a good opportunity for the children to get the chance to learn about their local emergency services and to get to know us as well. There's also an open day in Filcara Fire Station also on Saturday the 17th, and that one is between 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. and Killybegs Fire Station are opening up on Sunday the 18th between 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. Other emergency services will be in attendance at those as well, and entries free to these events.
All right, now a little later this month, Summer Sessions takes place in Letterkenny. Fantastic for the town and surrounding areas to see a big event taking place, but obviously that involves a Garda operation or a Gardaí liaising with the event organisers to make sure it's safe and secure and fun for everyone. With that in mind, what is the status?
Yeah, so this is taking place on August 15th to the 18th. And yeah, we are working with the organisers. And as you said, our priority is ensuring that everyone attending has a safe and enjoyable time. So in order to ensure as little disturbance to the local stakeholders and residents as possible, we will be adopting a zero tolerance approach to parking infringements in the environs of the venue. So patrons are asked not to park on the N56, so Ballyrain to Knocknamona roundabout, Gortley Road, Kiltoy Road, or in any other area which may cause disruption to local residents. Do not park in an illegal manner and ensure that you're not blocking access for emergency services.
So just to be clear, zero tolerance.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Look, think about what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
If it's going to cause disruption to someone else, don't do it.
There are alternatives which people can avail of.
So there's several park and ride services are going to be available, which are being organised by the event management, and these should be utilised where possible. These services will be advertised on all the Summer Session social media pages. So look them up in advance of travelling, figure out where you're going to park, and do it that way.
Are you going?
I might make a wee
who
trip
might you go
to
and
it.
see?
Haven't decided yet.
Okay.
Haven't decided yet.
Right. Make sure you park in an appropriate manner.
I'll be using the park and ride service.
No bother to you. All right, of course. And as I say, listen, the advice is there. Forewarned is forearmed. It's about having fun. and enjoying the time, but not encroaching on people around it. And you know what? You don't want to do anything either that could, and I'm not saying it would, but inhibit such brilliant events taking place into the future. Garda Claire Rafferty, thank you very much indeed. Garda Claire, associated, of course, with the Milford Garda Station. That was Community Garda information for this August the 13th. It's a Tuesday, of course. It'll be back for you live after the news next Tuesday. And of course, you can watch it back later on our Facebook pages and on Garda Síochána Facebook page.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Step out of the ordinary and into the new Lexus LBX, because this is the luxury compact SUV reimagined in every detail, where style, elegance and innovation define a new kind of driving experience. It's your world. Make it extraordinary. Experience the new LBX Hybrid at your Lexus retailer, available with a range of flexible payment options. Lexus. Experience amazing.
Your local dealer is Lexus Letterkenny.
Bring on summer with Dunnes Stores. Fire up the grill with 3 for €10 on a range of meat and fish, like succulent ribs, chicken, flaky salmon and juicy beef burgers. Served in fresh buns, rolls and wraps. Mix and match 3 for €3. And a range of delicious sauces, only €1.50. Plus, you can save at the till with a 10 off 50 grocery voucher. Dunnes Stores. Always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Voucher can be used for next grocery shop of €50 or more.
Ladies, experience exceptional women's health services at Greenview Medical Centre, Letterkenny. For advanced fertility treatments, pelvic floor care, comprehensive gynecology examinations and more. You can book your appointment online at greenviewmedicalcentre.ie. No GP referral needed. Greenview Medical Centre, Riverside Retail Park, Letterkenny. A new health horizon.
Have I got news for you? The Harvey's Point Cabaret is back. Every Wednesday in September and October, Eamon has gathered a galaxy of stars to captivate and entertain. A scrumptious dinner, fabulous entertainment, or a 2-night accommodation package. Harvey's Point Cabaret 074 972 2208 for an immediate reservation or harveyspoint.com.
Foyle Coaches Northwest Busways are looking for experienced bus drivers for local link routes on a 2-week rota. Must have experience in full-size coaches, a clean D driving licence and be CPC compliant. Very competitive pay rates are offered, starting at €22 per hour. Apply by the 21st of August to Foyle Coaches Northwest Busways Limited, Clogher, Redcastle, County Donegal, or email info@foylecoaches.com.
Okay, right. So the Donegal Camino takes place over a number of days. We'll tell you all about that in a moment. It runs from Sunday the 1st of September and the opening day of the 4th Donegal Camino. That is the opening day. The aim is to raise €100,000 for Cancer Care West services in Donegal, and we're right behind it, and we're right behind Noel Cunningham, who's the patron of Cancer Care West in Letterkenny. And with that in mind, I'm going to do one of the days, 16 kilometres, probably the furthest I've ever walked, and I'm looking forward to it, and I'm rattling my bucket, hoping that it's the first time I've done it, hoping that the wonderful listeners and business people of the Northwest will get behind us. We can give them a good plug if need be and raise as much money as possible, which we then can forward on to Cancer Care West in Letterkenny. And I'm roping people in as we go, and I'll tell you about one in a moment. But first, Noel Cunningham, patron of Cancer Care West in Letterkenny. Good morning to you, dear. How are you?
Good morning. Can you hear me, Greg?
Loud and clear. We're ready for your votes.
Excellent, Greg. First of all, I should start by saying thank you particularly for the excellent broadcast from the Cancer Centre in Letterkenny. Your sensitivity and your engagement with all of those who use the services, all of those who actually operate and work like John and his team, and also a special word to Fionnuala Rabbit, who touched a nerve with so many people, and you most certainly deserve great credit for getting the essence of what the centre is all about, and the many hundreds of people that find solace, find support, find, attention medically and otherwise. It's an extraordinary centre, and somehow or other, you managed to convey that message to the Northwest on that morning.
Not incredibly comfortable with positive feedback, but I genuinely do appreciate it. And, it was a learning experience for everyone, and I hope for listeners as well, because, people might not necessarily know what services are available. Some literally turned up who have been or on a cancer journey and turned up that day. They didn't know it was there, despite the best efforts to get that info out. You're always reaching new people. But also, it was the mood of the people that use it. It's like a home, and people sit down for a cup of coffee, and next thing they're in a counselling session, and they're going through these incredible experiences in their lives. But the sense of sort of positivity and hope, I don't know what the right words are, Noel, but from the hundreds of people that used it, how do you frame it? Because it was so uplifting. Right, that's how I went in there thinking. I don't know what I was expecting to think, but I didn't expect to leave feeling enriched and uplifted.
Greg, I first visited a similar centre with Cancer Care West in Galway, and it was truly my earnest wish that we would have such a unit in Donegal, where we didn't have anything like the services that are on offer in Letterkenny today. And perhaps you summed it up best by saying you go up those stairs, which is a very clinical, sort of plastic, ordinary office-like stairway. You open that door and you walk into an oasis that is caring. It embraces you, it engulfs you. There is artwork, there's music, there's a cup of tea. You are meeting people on a similar journey. You've gone there for your reasons, your own personal journey, and yet you find those kindred spirits and, most importantly, the professional help that may or may not be required on a journey such as cancer, whatever or however serious it is. Sometimes all we need is that hug and that chat and that cup of tea. And you got that message out there, Greg, on behalf of that centre, and we thank you for that.
But also to Noel, and that's enough of the praise, I do appreciate it, but please desist. What also too was the different types of people. I know Fionnuala's with us. We're going to talk to Fionnuala in a second. Fionnuala's got her own personality traits, and then there's another person with their own personality traits, and there's a man, and then there's a woman, and there's a young fella and a young girl, and then there's an older man and an older woman. And it's very actually unusual where a space that, to a man and woman, the same positive hopeful message is there. I mean, it's not always there, obviously, because people go in there in tough times, but it's almost like a leveler that everyone feels in this space. It seems to appeal to so many different people.
I suppose, Greg, very, very importantly, the centre, like any situation that those who are on a journey of really serious illness realize that, when illness strikes, when the big C particularly enters our family, because it does enter not just, it isn't just the person, it's their friends and their family. It's a great leveler, because what you say is right. In that room, in that beautiful centre, everyone is at a point. They are all on the same journey. They are all seeking something separate. And you ask what, in essence, that is. And that is that atmosphere of hope. There's the spirit of hope, and also it's also acceptance. And that doesn't necessarily mean that, it's not going to be a happy ending or anything. It just means an acceptance that you're on that cancer journey, and that support is there for you, and that's the greatest magic of the centre, that it comes along with you on that journey.
And there are there's treatments that take place and all that kind of stuff, but as well too,
absolutely,
one of the some of the stories that were coming across was when that news that all of us fear, but half of us will hear, and all of us will be affected by it, of a cancer diagnosis, is the people around the person who's received that diagnosis. And it can be panic, it can be what can we do, what do we say, how do we deal with this? And you can go to this centre and you try and make sense of it all, because it can be quite difficult without this experience to do so within the four walls of your own house. Stay where you are. Now, we're talking in the context of a massive fundraiser. It's the Donegal Camino 24. It's for a service, as I say, that half of us might need, all of us will be affected by. It's a 7-day walking festival. It takes place from the 1st to the 7th of September. This year, we want you to enter, as you always do. We don't want to detract in any way from the fantastic fundraising that's ongoing. What I want to talk to, or who I want to talk to, is maybe people who listen to this programme, or who perhaps even, like what I do, to also donate as well. And you can go to idonate.ie/Greg Hughes. This money will end up directly to Cancer Care West. But I'd really appreciate it. We put a tentative target in there. We're already halfway to it. We'll probably up that. And I'm going to be supported by Noel, because I'm supporting Noel, because he's the man, let's face it. I'm just a bandwagon jumper here. And also our own Fanula Rabbit. Fanula...
Oh, and I'm supporting you now, not the other way around.
Right, okay. But
anybody who's met me knows 16k may be way out of my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
That seems like the furthest I've ever walked since birth.
7k. The Ards walk is 7k. I'll have to update that actually, because I put Tuesday and it's Monday. But no, you don't have to do it all, but you're going to be there on the day.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a try now. In fairness, I need to try and get back on track myself. And as I cannot agree enough with what yourself and Noel were saying there. The show went excellently.
Because, as I say, because your engagement with it, you are probably, to me, I know you're a very sensitive, caring person, right? I get that, but also you are, and you have to be, probably one of the toughest people, right? Or at least that's
practical.
But
I can
you know what
be
I'm on
too.
about.
Yeah.
Toughest, and I don't mean tough as in cruel, but I'm on about you're tough, right? You've had to be tough, okay? And I wouldn't have struck you necessarily as the type of person that would use this centre. Since I was down there, I realise that's a load of BS, right?
Yeah.
But do you get where I'm coming from?
No, I totally do. I'm very much kind of like just, I don't like to think about things, so I'm not sure if it's tough or it's more a level of delusion, because I'm just like kind of like a head down and just stay going.
But you're working in a tough industry. You're working in a male-dominated industry, for starters.
Yeah, oh God, yeah.
You know?
No, there's lots of different things. And I am that type of a person. And I have to say, like Noel, I had engaged with Cancer Care West years and years ago in a professional basis, thank God for me, the first time round. And I just found them amazing. So when I found myself in, and really for my circumstances, I find it even terrible to use the word journey, because I was so lucky that it was just like a blip in the road. But what I found about the Cancer Care West that was so amazing and helpful is, even with, for me, it being, as I say, like a blip in the road, it was shocking to me how much it impacted me. And like as Noel said, even the reverberations that I felt with regard to my family. I'm always talking about how I come from such a large family, particularly for myself, it was breast cancer, and I have a lot of sisters. I'm the first one in my immediate family, thank God, and touch wood, me the only one that has had cancer at all. So I almost felt a bit like I've brought this now into, there was a lot of weird emotions that kind of came up. And I just find with Cancer Care West, what I found amazing with them is that, and just even when you were talking, I was thinking about it there, cancer has become a thing now, as you say, 1 in 2 people now are going to experience it. But thankfully, it's also become a word that we no longer have to say under our breath.
True.
There was a time when you'd barely say it.
We
had all
I know
euphemisms.
Noel mentioned the big C earlier on, but that was...
100%. You just felt as soon as you heard the word, you were like, that's it. Whereas now people are, the recovery rate, like for myself, and are being detected so early. The recovery rates are doing so well for so many people. Also, people live so much longer now. You know what I mean? Things, and that's the beauty, I think, of Cancer Care West. They're really helping us. This is something that can happen to you, but it is something that you can come out the other side of.
I think a critical part of all of this is, you see, the use of the word, the normalisation of the conversation, I think that gets people into the GP surgery a bit quicker as well too.
The fear, absolutely. I think sometimes in the past we've had people who, who'd often say to you, well, I knew it must be something and I was afraid to go, and I think this is what Cancer Care West does so brilliantly. They help you to, yes, this is, for some people a terrible path that they have to go through, a terrible, hopefully just a period in their lives or a year or so that they have to go through. But they're there to help you and your family and your friends normalise it as much as possible for yourself, get as much comfort and support as you can for yourself. And, ideally we would have 100 centres all around Donegal, so that people literally only had to go as far as their sitting room in order to be able to avail of it. And so it's great to be able to support them as much as we can.
It's the support afterwards, because we've talked before about the fear of it returning. I've got the all clear and the families, yay, and then people have their own sort of emotional journeys that are still there, and the J word's there's no replacement. It's the one I have to use. But also then, with fluid retention and other stuff that can come up, or even going in and having a makeup session and feeling good about yourself. These are all the little things that happen all of the time that really make a significant impact on people in different ways. It's not just the talking
I think
and the
absolutely.
coffee.
I think, like, for me, I have to say I'm very practical as well, in that I always assumed if I ever had something like this, I'd be saying, "Oh, just get rid of it, just to do whatever you want." And even for myself, like, and as I said, it was breast cancer. And the aesthetic of it did actually bother me, and that actually took me back.
Right, okay.
Because I was like, I didn't think it would. The way is in the whole of my health, I would be like, "Oh God, no, just do whatever you have to do, and this is fine." But it's amazing the things that you find out about yourself, even just little things like that, that, and I'm not a, glamorous, or, the way I'm not somebody that kind of leans into that side of myself. So I just assumed I would never think anything like that. But it actually was one thing that came up that I was,
I think maybe that's that. You always look pretty good, so I think that maybe was just an underbelly that you didn't recognise.
It was just something I was surprised. So it's amazing the things that you actually come up and you learn about yourself that you suddenly go, God, I actually care about that, and I didn't think I did. And I just think the work they do in Cancer Care West, I cannot praise them enough. They do just fantastic support work, and in an ideal world, they would have limitless funds in which they could do whatever they want. But as the world is, we have to help them out. And they deserve every help that we can. So I'm delighted to start walking. You'll be seeing me around the town practicing my hills. I'll never do the hills.
Do you think we'll both do the 7K? Well, let's try it. Now, what we're talking...
I'm hoping for the 7K now, as long as it's... now, and I say that, I'm hoping you've also picked a day that's relatively flat. Because I'm sorry now, but... I couldn't even go up and down that fire brigade thing. I tried to do that once and I nearly had to stop into the fire brigade to get them to drop me home.
What am I going to do with this woman? No.
Well, you know what? Can I just say that's the magic as well. The magic of that centre is carried into the walk, because you are carried along on this wave of love and enthusiasm and support. You've done 10K without almost realising it. Fionnuala, it will be no problem. You will do it. We can do it. As Obama said, is Federlin. I am going to walk beside you every step of that walk, and you will be delighted.
So it's 7 days of walking. This is what we want to do is layer on top of this amazing event already, and not in any way detract from the fantastic work that's being done. It's well established now. It's a 7-day walking festival. Sunday 1st of September, Malin Monday 2nd of September, Ards Forest Park. Tuesday 3rd of September, Sunrise Climb of Erigal. Wednesday, Critch Island. Thursday, September, Crohyhead. The Gay Burn Trail, which will be lovely as well. Friday, the Blue Stack Way, and then the finale, Saturday, 7th September, on Europe's high sea cliffs, the beautiful Slieve League. Now, you can register for all or part. It remains open until late August, with places filling up across the range of 7 exciting walking groups, all funds going directly to the Donegal Camino 2024 Cancer West Donegal Fund. Now, what we want is for you to back me and Fionnuala and whoever else we can rope in for our little part of this on top of it, right? So don't divert funding to us. Give us an extra few quid, because Noel has a massive target and we want to help enhance that. Go to idonate.ie/Greg Hughes. You'll see the connection there. Anything you can do. Businesses, please. Now, I've got the boss here, Fanula. I'll even get her to name your business or whatever it is. But it would be lovely just to get something going here, something organic and beautiful. And me and Fanula and whoever else, we're going to figure out some way to create a bit of content and have a bit of fun on the day as well. So it's not just going to be us walking. We're going to do a bit of work there as well, and we'll have a bit of fun with it. My creative juices are flowing, so we'll get to that at that time, right? Where is the Cancer West Centre in Letterkenny? I would say it's just next door to from the Sister Sarah's and the Indian restaurant there. You just you turn in. That's where I'd describe it as.
I think
it's unassuming.
There's a big Donegal dental sign. Not to
Yeah,
promote Donegal
that's
dental.
fine.
No
No,
offense
it's
to them,
fine.
but no, I don't mean no offense.
And
They're
I
a fine
suppose-
organisation. It's right beside them. I would phrase that.
This is
often.
why we pre-record Fridays.
I know.
No, only joking. Go ahead, Noel.
As I suppose it's important once again, to reiterate what Fanula spoke about on both occasions and what you've referenced. That centre, as we say in Donegal, the kettle is on. Anybody, whatever aspect, whatever part of the journey you're on, whether it's a blip in the road or a slightly longer journey, that door is opened of that incredible centre. And as soon as you walk in, you will be welcomed with open arms. You will get a hug. You will feel that you've come home, the word that you use, Greg. And this money does immeasurable good work and helps so much in making sure that that wonderful centre continues.
Yeah, and ambitions for maintaining, growing. Who's to say? Lynn McDevitt is a cancer survivor and also really very active in a group of individuals that help others once they've been diagnosed with cancer and seeking treatment. Lynn, thanks for your time this morning.
Thank you, Greg, for having me on.
Yeah, people would know that
I
you
just
lead
want-
the bus going to Galway and often refer people to Cancer Care West services, presumably both in Galway and here in Donegal.
Yes, well, most of our patients travel up to Galway, Cancer Care West, and stay in the lodge. And Cancer Care West runs the lodge. And the centre in Donegal is just amazing. It's an outreach from Galway, and we need it for our Donegal cancer patients. There's a lot of cancer patients who haven't got any family, but they can go in there and meet family. And everybody in there is on the one boat. They're all in for the same reason, a cup of tea and just some chat and to know where they go next
Simple as
on
that,
their
Lynn.
journey.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
it's that,
just
and,
simple.
and it's that post-treatment support as well.
Yes, and they put you in the right direction. They're friendly. They get you a cup of tea, counselling, as you say, makeup sessions, whatever you need, they're there. But a lot of people, it's the fear of the unknown, and they just don't know where to go once they finish their treatment in Galway. They get a wee bit better on their own self, and they just think, where do we go now? Just to ask some questions that they want answered.
Lynn, listen, wonderful endorsement from you as someone, as to say, who leads the bus going to Galway. Thank you so very much, Lynn. Lynn McDevitt there, who herself is a cancer survivor, and often those that work in these areas are themselves cancer survivors. Right, okay. idonate.ie/Greg Hughes if you want to support us supporting this wonderful event as well. We're going to have a lovely day at Ards Forest Park. If you want to join us, by the way, you can. Why don't join the Highland Radio family and walk with us as well? We'll sort all of that out because, as I say, this is sort of growing legs as we move forward. But Noel, listen, thank you very much indeed for joining us this morning and for your tireless work in supporting not just the likes of this wonderful charity, but others as well. DonegalCamino.ie to register there. As I say, don't let us detract from your ambitions to walk and donate. Let us layer on top of that and give it a wee boost. And who's to say where it goes, Noel?
Thank you so much, Greg. Absolutely. You have said it all. Get on board. Join us. Join this amazing, gorgeous week for a day, for 2 days, whatever suits. And Greg, to all of you at Highland Radio, we can do this. We are going to this is going to grow legs. As you say, it started already. And how exciting is that? People are so wonderful and in anticipation of the help that always comes. Thank you a million times over for each and every one of you, to each and every one of you.
Take care. Bye-bye, Noel. Okay, you can check out our socials and my socials for a link. I really would appreciate any generosity. And really, I think this is going to morph into not something from me, but with Fionnuala involved and what have you. It's sort of backing us and backing Cancer Care West.
My mother would be thrilled you're making me go walking. So I said, my mother would be thrilled you're making me go walking.
I love it.
She alone will be donating.
But that's Caroline's style. You're on the list. Didn't know. She didn't tell me you're on the list. Next thing, we're having an interview and we're part of a team.
I know. She must be in contact with Teresa down in Galway. Teresa must have been on to her because it's my mother's dream now that I go walking.
Oh, it's amazing the stuff gets us out walking, isn't it? All right, listen, Fionnuala, always an absolute pleasure. We'll talk to it more, and as I say, we'll try and make it as fun and exciting
we'll
as
see
possible.
people out on the roads practicing.
Yeah, all right then. So thanks, Fionnuala. We'll be back with more. Go to idonet.ie/Greg Hughes or go to our socials. We'll be back with more after these.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
4 Fridays.
4 winners.
Plus 1 lucky jackpot.
20 grand.
Highland Radio. Oh, that didn't work.
If you're running low on worktop space, the new Ninja Double Stack Air Fryer is perfect. Raymond Sweeney here from Ben Sweeney Euronics. With 2 stacked drawers and 2 meal racks, it evenly cooks 4 layers of food at the same time. Perfect for up to 8 people, saving up to 55% on energy costs compared to conventional ovens. See the new Ninja Double Stack Air Fryer at Ben Sweeney Euronics, Port Road, Letterkenny, or in the shopping centre, Dunlow.
Uisce Éireann is Ireland's national water utility, responsible for delivering clean, safe and reliable national public drinking water and wastewater services for Ireland. For any questions about public water services or to report an issue in your area, we can be contacted 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on 1800 278 278 or visit water.ie. Uisce Éireann. Delivering water services for Ireland.
Make great photos into beautiful gifts at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. Different gift ideas include canvas prints, freestanding or ready-to-hang art blocks, and personalised photo books, perfect to mark any occasion. There's also jigsaws, calendars, mugs, and much more. For details, visit mcgees.ie. Turn your favourite moments into something truly special with McGee's Chemist Letterkenny.
iMotors are now carrying the largest range of pre-owned cars in the Northwest.
Don't settle for just any car. Choose the one that suits your style and budget.
Visit imotors.ie to explore our extensive range with 20 plus brands to choose from and find your next car today.
Or call into our showroom in Letterkenny or Malin.
iMotors, fearless generation.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by McElhinney's. Support a local Donegal business with McElhinney's. From fashion to home essentials, find everything you need for any occasion. Shop McElhinney's Ballybuffet for quality you can trust.
Okay, so the scattered outbreaks of rain will give way to drier, brighter and sunnier conditions. Just the odd shower. Temperature 17 to 19 degrees. All right, listen, thanks so much to Kathleen, Colum, Grania, Margaret, Madge, Sinead, all of you already donating. I really, really appreciate it. We're up at over €600 now. It's amazing. Okay, so that's going to be, even if we stop now, we've collectively raised 600 for Cancer Care West, Letterkenny. Isn't that amazing? But don't stop. I really, really appreciate it. We're going to link it on our socials. Get on that right now if you can. I'm not going to drive this all month, all right, and pee you off if it's not your thing, but just the occasional mention and plead for support, because we're raising money for the Cancer Care West Centre in Letterkenny. And we're going to build a wee show around it, or we'll see. I don't know what we're going to do, but we're going to have fun with it. And if any of you want to get involved in any which way whatsoever, please get in contact with us now. We're open to all ideas. News on the way.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Best staycation ever. One family, 60 minutes from home. 100 acres of stunning gardens. For, what's that tree called? 30-minute family picnic. Before the next adventure. 7 inflatable water slides, 6 belly flops, 15 belly laughs. One incredible day. Plan your best staycation ever at discoverireland.ie and experience the feeling of a holiday all in one day. Brought to you by Fáilte Ireland.
Crawford Tiles and More Castlefin. Tiles, bathware and wood flooring. The best quality and value in the Northwest. Fully stocked and ready to go. Fitters and delivery available. 10% off for mica affected customers. Don't forget their famous 5-day bathroom fit out. Give Crawford's a call and see what they can do for you on 914392.
We love Irish music and we want to show our support for the movers, the makers and the shakers. Right through Irish Music Month this September, join Highland Radio in celebrating those who make every party, every drive and every day simply magic. Buy Irish albums, Irish tickets, Irish t-shirts and Irish music merch direct from the musicians themselves. Let's support Irish Music Month. Let's buy Irish. Irish Music Month. Irish radio supporting Irish artists with IBI and Hot Press, supported by Commission Amon Sound and Vision Scheme, funded by the Television Licence Fee.
With all the stories that matter across the Northwest, it's Greg Hughes on the 9 to Noon Show on Highland Radio.
Okay, it's 9:01. Let's get a news update, and it's over to... it's 11:11. Let's get a news update, and it's over to Donald Kavanagh.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. Garda are appealing for information about 2 alleged assaults last week, one on Friday night in St Johnstone, the other in Clonmany in the early hours of Thursday morning. Neither involved life-threatening injuries. Garda and Ballyshannon are investigating 3 incidents in the Derryconnor, Mount Charles area in the period from Sunday afternoon up to yesterday morning. Tools and other equipment were taken from a garage and a car breaker's yard, while a quad was stolen from a nearby shed. Gardaí believe the 3 incidents may be linked. Full details on both those on our website, highlandradio.com. Uisce Éireann says crews are working to repair a major water main burst affecting Ballybofey and Stranora this morning. They say homes and businesses in the Twin Towns and surrounding areas are experiencing disruption to their water supplies, but every effort is being made to return a normal supply as quickly as possible. Uisce Éireann says crews have been mobilised and repairs are expected to be complete by 6 o'clock this evening. Foyle MP and SDLP leader Colm Eastwood is calling on communities in Derry to protect their children. It's after a number were involved in disorder and attacks on police in the Nailors Row area over the weekend. Mr Eastwood's calls also come ahead of anti-internment bonfires being lit in the vicinity of Derry on Thursday night. Killybegs Coast Guard responded to 2 incidents yesterday afternoon. In the first, members were tasked to help a fallen hill walker on Slieve League. She had sustained a lower leg injury. The Coast Guard team gave her first aid before putting her on a stretcher and bringing her to the car park where there was an ambulance waiting. In the second incident, a young cyclist fell off their bike and sustained a head injury in a remote area outside Ardra. The Coast Guard assisted the ambulance and Rescue 118. The casualty was brought to hospital by by helicopter. And only 7.23% of all new vehicles sold in Donegal in the first 6 months of the year were electric, one of the lowest rates in the country. Figures collated by the Irish Independent show 25% were hybrid and 67.8% run on fossil fuel. Meanwhile, it's been suggested that drivers in rural areas like Donegal should get larger grants toward the cost of electric vehicles. And we're back with news headlines again at 12 noon.
Donald, thank you very much indeed.
Ready for this, kids? Oh, what a day for it. Nothing to do, nothing to think about. Mind, we are a bit sandwiched in here. Sandwiches! Packed lunch! Back to school!
Ah, stop. It'll be grand. Aldi's got back to school sorted with everything you need. So you can get back to summer! Go all Aldi.
Okay, you're welcome back to the 9 till Noon Show. An important message to get out there now, because cancer patients are being given false hope and putting themselves in danger due to Google search and other search engines, I'm sure. Google search and review results that allow alternative cancer clinics to draw people in, according to a review in the journal Nature. To discuss this and to warn of it, we're joined on the programme now by Professor Seamus O'Reilly, who's an oncologist at Cork University Hospital. Good morning to you, Professor. Thank you so much for your time.
Morning. Thanks for asking me to join your programme, Con.
And I'm sure it's quite obvious what is happening here, because you can pay to have your to promote your results to be further up once someone searches for something. And I think in this day and age, whenever we have a diagnosis, how serious it is or not, the first thing often we do is go to Dr. Google in inverted commas. What are we seeing, and what are your chief concerns, Seamus?
So our concerns is that we trust the internet, we trust Google. When you Google these, when you go online and do journal searches, and if you look in the Financial Times at the weekend, over 90% of searches done on search engines on our computers are Google. So when you go online and you do searches, these clinics come up, and it's not clear that they're not conventional treatments, that they're alternative. They often include patient testimonies involved in it. And the clinics have a rating, there's a rating system there which doesn't distinguish between conventional clinic and alternative clinics. And people with cancer are vulnerable. Cancer is a lonely illness, and this is a time of extreme vulnerability for them. And they may have concerns about side effects of conventional therapy, or have had a family member who had a bad experience with cancer therapy. And that drives the pursuit of these alternative measures. And we know that for patients going, where they abandon conventional therapy and they go to alternative therapy, that their mortality rate is greater. And that's a major concern.
It is. And look, we've seen with Amazon Shopping, TripAdvisor, Booking.com, there's loads of examples whereby we're becoming more and more reliant and trusting on other people's experience. That can be the game changer that decides whether we eat in this restaurant, or unfortunately in this case, whether we go down an alternative route for a very serious disease. And it's quite easy to manipulate ratings. So, 4.8 out of 5. It's not hard to manufacture that if you were so wished, but also to flood reviews and what have you, with fake reviews potentially. So you can see very easily how someone might get sucked into this, as you quite rightly point out, Seamus, at a very vulnerable time.
So, Greg, what we have suggested is that there would be guardrails on these search engines to protect vulnerable people, and there will be also more supervision by the search engine companies who benefit financially from these searches of what the veracity of the claims made are. So last week, the US government sued Google for monopolizing search engine use, and we've seen where the UK governments in the UK and Ireland are concerned about the use about the social media companies and internet companies in terms of fostering dissent, and the riots that we've seen in Belfast, the riots in Dublin, the riots in cities in the United Kingdom. So these internet companies and social media companies have an enormous duty of care to society. I think sometimes we find in life that if shareholder value competes with patient outcomes, that shareholders will always win and patients will always lose. And this is another example of that. But long term, it's not a good thing for us not to trust the internet. I mean, it's our go-to source of information, as you said. And so long term, if we have concerns or suspicions about its impact on our society and on our children, it'll fade off and it'll stop being used, and that would be a tremendous tragedy.
Yeah, and so really then it's in the interests of the likes of Google, the most popular search engine, to ensure that their results can be trusted. And I think there can be a conversation about social media's contribution to some of the events we've seen recently, and the argument over free speech and all that type of stuff. This is separate, though. This is about people's health, and I don't think these people should be collateral damage or victims of a wider conversation about social media's role in society. This should be a no-brainer. We shouldn't have to appeal to X or Google or anyone else to say, hold on a second, this is bad information. Other areas can be argued about, but we're very, very clear on the situation as it relates to cancer, I think. Is it useful for you, if you have examples, Professor, and maybe you don't, and maybe you don't think it is useful, to talk about some of the misinformation that is out there that people are encountering that's having this negative impact on their health and outcomes?
So in the article that we published in relation to the Google paper that was from Caulfield and colleagues in the British Journal of Cancer Reports, we cite examples where patients have abandoned conventional therapy to pursue alternative therapy. and where the outcomes has been worse as a result. So this is something we're seeing in our practices on a regular basis. It's hugely distressing because you have patients in front of you where you know that they have potentially curable cancers, and we just can't get them to come around to accepting the treatments we're doing. We feel that they're hearing alternative voices. We're also in terms of their accessing the internet, and some of that is medical professionals, frankly. So our community is guilty in this regard. We find that when we do searches, our searches are different. I've had patients outlining, the remedies that they were pursuing, and when I've tried to search and find it on the internet, I haven't been able to. So the algorithms that they've developed over time, over years, are very different to my algorithms, and that's a worry that you go down a rabbit hole, and the rabbit hole becomes a catacomb. Yeah. But we have examples, and we've published examples, unfortunately, where patients have had poorer outcomes as a result of the pursuit of these therapies.
Yes, and this is in terms of treatment, but we're also seeing it in the area of prevention. The most common cancer in this country is skin cancer, and there is an awful lot of one of our greatest, things that can protect us is sunscreen. And for some reason, someone is trying to drive this narrative that it's actually sunscreen that is what's harming you. And some people will go, especially those maybe who feel like disenfranchised or whatever it might be, some might go, well, that suits my life, I'm not going to use sunscreen because I read it somewhere. So it's not just in the treatment, but we're always also seeing this misinformation out there in terms of the prevention.
Yes, and we saw it as well during the COVID pandemic, where people were reluctant about vaccines, and there was this myth of big pharma, but that's out there in the community as well. But certainly, the commonest cancer we see in Ireland, because of our Celtic heritage, is skin cancer. We know that sunscreen is endorsed by multiple agencies worldwide and by the Irish Cancer Society in terms of their cancer prevention program as a way of reducing that. As we get older, we're more likely to develop these cancers. So as our society ages and as we have increasing life expectancy, this is going to become more and more of an issue in the decades ahead.
Yeah, and I can't imagine what it must be like to sit in front of a patient who's decided to, abandon curative cancer therapy that will potentially therapies that might cure them, and opting for a treatment plan that's not evidence-based and is based on a couple of Google reviews or a lot of Google reviews that you can't really check the authenticity of. It could be AI wrote them for all we know.
So, when these situations happen, they're relatively rare, but they do occur. We all have examples of it in our practice as oncologists. And part of it is finding out where the medical mistrust comes from as regards the decision-making. Part of it is also establishing, is there coercive control by a family member or a well-meaning relative, where they're endorsing these strategies and engaging in a negative way in terms of conventional medicine.
That's really is quite interesting, because a couple of cases spring to mind in that regard. So it is actually a reality in some cases. Thanks very much for your time. I do appreciate it, Professor Seamus O'Reilly. Take care of yourself. He's an oncologist at Cork University Hospital. Now, just to give you an example, there's a study that came out in 2018, and I want to decouple this from the COVID stuff, if that's all right. No disrespect to the professor there, but there were different schools of thought on the approach and treatment plans for COVID, and there are still very significant differences there. So personally, if it were me, I would actually decouple it from that, because that's an area where arguably we're still learning. There are different medical points of view. I'm not in any way calling out the professor there. Completely separate to that conversation. But here, what we do have is we have cancer for many, many years, with many, many people who are working very hard to give us our best outcomes. And there are therapies that are proven to work. We know that in our own families. But what is happening is some are, maybe they are disenfranchised, or they don't have a trust of medical, of medicine. And maybe it is for that reason. Well, sure, if you can't trust them on that, how can we trust them on this? But I would really discourage anyone from Googling and going down the alternative route. Maybe it's something you can run alongside your traditional medicine if you want to, or in consultant with your consultant. But a 2018 study from the Yale School of Medicine found patients who subscribe to alternative therapies are twice as likely to die in the same period as those who rely on conventional therapies. There's another story of a lady who says, my husband went there twice. This is a review of one of these clinics. My husband went there twice. The second time they told me he was cancer-free and they sent him home. He was not cancer-free, and it even spread to his liver and bones. So as I say, if you're a bit cautious about the area of medicine, I think in terms of cancer treatments, we probably should have trust there. Let me see. There was one came in there about, where is it? We all know that alternative medicine treatment does actually work for some people, so no point in saying all alternative treatments are bad. We all know that chemotherapy does not work in all people, yet we are not suggesting that we do not use it. A bit of common sense is needed and freedom of all information. Okay, if that's what you think. So are you of the view, and it's important, this texter, really, I think, just to see where you're at, like, are you saying that, God forbid, you got a diagnosis of cancer, or maybe you did, so I really don't want to be disrespectful. Are you saying that we should leave it just to the hands of the public, where there's clinics that we don't know how truthful the reviews are or what have you, that we should just let people, without any alternative information, we should let people themselves decide whether it's conventional medicine or something they've read on Google? Like, do you believe that we should, and maybe it was your experience, maybe there's someone out there through alternative medicine was cancer free, but I mean, we do have a responsibility here as well, because there's vested interests. Do you know what I mean? So you know, there's a lot of money to be made in someone, and they might not care for the outcome of the person. There's a lot of money to be made in saying, you know, don't do that, do this. They get the money out of you, and you're not there to complain because you potentially have passed away. The sister of the murdered Tyrone schoolgirl, Arlene Arkinson, has called for a public inquiry into the handling of the case on the 30th anniversary of her disappearance. You would know, and it's been covered extensively on this radio station. Arlene was 15 years of age when she went missing after a night out at a disco in Bundoran on the 13th of August 1994. From Castlederg, she was last seen in a car driven by convicted murderer and rapist Robert Howard. A solicitor for Arlene Arkinson's family is Des Doherty, and Des is with me now. Des, thank you for your time.
No problem at all. I really appreciate the support and the fact that you've reported on this case widely over the last number of years.
It must be incredibly difficult for the family. So many unanswered questions. Still no sign of Arlene Arkinson's remains, no place to go. And I suppose, like we've become accustomed to, visit a grave or you know, mourn in that way. So much that makes this so difficult for all of the family, Des. Can you give us a sense of that?
Yes, well, it's an emotional and a legal void at the moment for the family. It is absolutely terrible what they have gone through, and effectively the way they have been treated by the state in this jurisdiction. And that goes back to 1994, and even by the standards of 1994, the family were treated appallingly then. And the fact that Howard, who was out on bail and should never have been out on bail at the time, then goes and effectively kidnaps Arlene and murders her, should never have happened, because he should never have been out on bail. And then, because Arlene's case was dealt with so dreadfully, this man then was able to go ahead and murder a 14-year-old child in London. If that was to happen in this day and age now, there would be a massive public outcry, and there would be calls for all sorts of investigations and inquiries. And unfortunately, we do see in a number of cases in the media that then they're looked back upon and they're looked at all the failings and everything that happened. But from day one, the Arkinson family were treated abysmally by the state, effectively, which is now hard to believe that the event was 30 years ago, but it is, I suppose, today an emotional event in terms of there's a vigil later today in Castle Derrick at 6 p.m. And I think after that, the legal case in relation to the case will commence again. But it's a very emotional time at the moment, and as you said there's never been a body discovered, despite many searches, and in fairness, carried out by the Garda and by the police, and recently by the Garda as well. And I think one of the main aims that Kathleen always had was to have a proper Christian burial for her sister. And the other thing I would say, we're constantly fed a news feed of trauma every single day now. We turn on our phones or look at the television screens, and it's very, very difficult for the case of a 15-year-old child from 30 years ago to get any sort of attention. But there is a chord struck within the public in this case, because people really cannot believe how bad the family has been treated.
Des, as we mentioned, in 2021, an inquest found Arlene was murdered by Robert Howard. Is that a finding that the family do accept? I think you indicated really in your commentary there that they must.
Yes, they do. In fact, that the achievement, the major achievement of the inquest. The inquest was opened by the late John Leckie, coroner, in 2001 in Derry. We had 40 preliminary hearings. We finally got the hearings underway. The state effectively tried to collapse the inquest because they brought in public interest immunity certificates, all the sorts of mechanisms that they use in legacy cases and so-called either terrorist or paramilitary cases. And it was all brought in a case involving a 15-year-old child, which of course caused great suspicion and consternation. So we don't have the findings until 2021. But on that day of the findings, that was the first time had judicial confirmation that Howard was the killer, and that was that was a major achievement, and it was met with much positivity from the family to have that recognition, because the finger of blame had been pointed at them at one stage, because you will recall that another informant, another state agent, effectively, and taken the light of suspicion of Howard, pointed the finger of suspicion towards the family, and that the RUC and the British Army turned up at their home and began to dig up their garden and invited the media along. I mean, again, to put it into context, that was back in the 90s. Can you imagine that happening now in this day and age? It would just be totally horrific, and the effects of it and the criticisms of it. So again, it's just another example of how badly the family were treated.
There's often when there is a call for a public inquiry, part of the argument for it is that, you know, to make sure something like this can never happen again. And on two occasions there, you've referenced that thankfully as a society we've moved forward whereby we can't imagine something like this happening again. So this then really is, I suppose, about, you know, justice or answers or accountability for the family. And correct me if I'm wrong in relation to that. So what might a public inquiry achieve that would satisfy the family, if that makes sense?
Well, that argument about that in this day and age it might not ever happen again. I remember that discussion with the Justice Minister at the time in November 2021, and it had been around about the time of, you may recall, the Sarah Everard case.
Mm-hmm.
And I pointed out, I said, no, well, these things do happen again. Is it in broad daylight? Not only in Britain, but in Ireland as well. There's a case here as well. So what we have to do is learn the lessons and the mistakes and the failures that have been made before to try to ensure that it doesn't happen again, because there's no guarantee it will not happen again. But you have to try and learn from it and learn from your mistakes. And that's really, I suppose, be one of the main goals. You need to look at the failings of the police and the legal system towards the Arkinson family, and you can't just simply shrug your shoulders and say, "Oh well, it was in the 90s, it was 1994, we were leading up to the ceasefires, and you know, with other things to do." Or you can't fall into the trap either of arguing with shoddy police investigation, and you know, it's just one of those things, and you should just move on.
Yeah.
You can't say that, because there is a wider picture which deals with. And I've heard other journalists speaking about it as well, about violence towards children and towards women in particular, and how it's dealt with by the police and by the courts. Because yes, we are in a different society now, of course, yes, but But the mid-90s, it was. I know it's 2 years ago, but I'm sure for yourself and myself, it doesn't feel that far away.
No,
you know, in some ways it feels. You know, we can still remember. So even by the standards of the time, and I know with distancing and looking back, I have now realised in a lot of long cases I've been involved in, it can be a good and a positive thing.
Mm-hmm.
But even with distancing and looking back, by the standards of the 90s, and we're talking about the mid to the late 90s, this was still appalling. And then even leading up to 2005 when there was a trial, even everything within the legal system was appalling then. So it's not that long ago. It'll never be perfect. That we everything will be okay and this will never happen again. I don't think we can ever say that, because there have been a lot of recent cases, and unfortunately there will be more. But lessons must be learnt. That's the point.
Justice Minister Naomi Long says there's not sufficient grounds for a public inquiry. But I mean, the grounds, you'd imagine the grounds would be discovered very early in the process of a public inquiry, if that makes sense.
Well, and fairness to the Justice Minister, who was quite courteous towards the family, we did meet with her. That her statement is now out of context, unfortunately, and she'll probably realise that herself, because the findings of the inquest were in 2021. We met with the Justice Minister in November 21. She then, I think, only my respect for you for what it's worth, but I believe she rushed her decision. But she made her decision before February 2022. But then Stormont collapsed. So we had no that decision that she's talking about was made quite some time ago. So we had no way of returning to her and engaging with her and saying, look, you may want to reconsider this because of this and because of that. Stormont collapsed. The family then, once again, are left in a legal void. They have nowhere to go. They have no justice minister to challenge. They can't judicially review. They had to wait until Stormont got back up and running again, and it was very, very difficult for them.
Yeah.
Stormont only got back up and running again recently. So the family made the emotional decision, really, to not engage in a legal process until after the 30th anniversary. And so now the 30th anniversary, obviously today, they're going to pursue that again. Okay. So the decision made after she made some time ago, there has been a series of documentaries made. One, and in a lot of investigative journalism, which has really promoted this case, with the Murder in the Badlands series and the BBC, the TG4 documentary as well, and Sky have recently completed their filming, because we've all been interviewed for another documentary that's to be broadcast in October and November. And the Murder in the Badlands documentary was in the top 10 in America. It became internationally very popular because people were aghast at the case. And so it's garnered a lot of support.
Yeah, it's so funny, isn't it?
So
Sometimes
not to hold a public inquiry.
The externalise, because the externalise, it looks at it fresh, because even you or I we've covered it here. Obviously, you've been at the forefront of this, but sometimes when you present the facts to people who aren't aware of it, as like an international audience, they see it somewhat differently and can see the gaps and the problems that perhaps the authorities in this country either don't see or are ignoring. Des, if you happen to be speaking to the family, please pass on our best wishes at this very difficult time. And I'm sure difficult times between anniversaries and birthdays and Christmases, they come around many times a year, but this is another one. So pass on our best wishes, and thanks, Des, for speaking with us.
No, thank you very much. Thank you.
Des Doherty, solicitor for Arlene Arkinson's family. Hillary on Facebook says, why discourage alternative therapies? Well, I'll read the rest of your comment, Hillary, but I'm not discouraging them, sorry. I just would be anyone close to me if they went to see a consultant and the consultant says, right, we've a chance of getting you cured with these conventional therapies, be that radiation or whatever it might be, and someone close to me says, right, I'm not doing that. Instead, I'm going to try this alternative. I would find that problematic. Obviously, it's up to the individual to make their own choice, and it always is the case. What I said is alternatives, of course, you can explore them. Hopefully they could work alongside traditional therapies. But if your consultant says, we've got a good chance of curing you, and you say, no, I'm not doing that, I'm only doing alternative. That's what I was talking about. I'd be concerned if people completely gave up on traditional medicine, in inverted commas, traditional, that could be misinterpreted, you know what I mean, versus the alternatives. If it were me, I think if I would go down I certainly would engage with a consultant to go down the traditional route. I probably would also seeing if there's anything that could complement that in the alternative therapy space as well. But that would be my own personal decision. So I'm not poo-pooing alternative therapies. I've not enough knowledge of it. I would have my concerns if it was driven by Google and fake Google reviews potentially, that someone chose that option over the conventional therapies that are there. Hilary said, I'll read your comment in full. I disagree. Alternative therapies work for many people. I never said they didn't, by the way. Sorry if I come across as saying so. And then she says, yes, the vested interest is from the multi-million pharmaceutical companies. Look, we are a product to all of them. Big pharma, government, whatever, we're a product. But the alternatives, the alternative voices in different spaces, trust me, we are a product to them as well. And a case in point, last night, as I said earlier on, 2 billionaires, people that will never have to have money, that have enough money to wipe out hunger between them in a country. That's how much money they have, sitting, patting their backs, talking about us as a product. Really, they don't care about us. They're billionaires. They care about protecting. Elon Musk doesn't want oil. To be used for 500 years. He's the biggest player in the EV market. Donald Trump wanting oil to be burnt for 500 years. He wants to get elected for 4 years. Not discussing the potential consequences of the quality of the air that we breathe and so on. So those people, I'm not saying they're the alternative voices, but trust me, we're products to them as well. That's all we are. And if they're telling us nonsense on Twitter, X, or Facebook, or particularly Twitter, and the likes of a Lawrence Fox, for example, would be an alternative voice. He literally posts the checks he gets from X as if to say, keep hating me, this is the amount of money I'm making. We are a product to all of them. The truth lies somewhere in between.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio. The 9 till Noon Show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
4 Fridays.
4 winners.
Plus 1 lucky jackpot.
20 grand.
Highland Radio.
Highland Radio. Oh, that didn't work.
FBD doesn't stand for frighteningly rad dentists, ferociously beating drums, or feline business directors. FBD stands for support. We support business owners in Ireland with tailor-made services from personally assigned advisors. Visit your local branch to talk to your FBD insurance team. FBD Insurance. Support. It's what we do. Underwritten by FBD Insurance plc. FBD Insurance Group Limited, trading as FBD Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Do you live in Donegal? Fancy upskilling without breaking the bank? Big Red Cloud, in collaboration with KW and Donegal Education and Training Boards, is offering a series of free, yes free, training programs in bookkeeping and payroll. All courses are available online with flexible learning schedules at times that suit you. Big Red Cloud enables learners with no prior knowledge to upskill in payroll and accounts. Sign up today at bigredcloud.com/training. Free, certified and completed at your own pace. Brought to you by Donegal ETB.
Nutrius Winling Crunch in promotion at your local Homeland store. Buy 10 bags of Nutrius Winling Crunch ATP, get 1 free. Or get €15 off per tonne in bulk. The Nutrius Beef ATP pack enhances animal performance through maximising rumen efficiency. T's and C's apply. Contact your local Homeland or farm commercial specialist today. Visit nutrius.ie for full product details.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is
11:33, and I have in front of me a book. It's called A Riot in Murphy's Pub. Its author is Irene Murloch, and I have Irene in the studio with me. Hi, Irene.
Hello.
How are you keeping?
I'm doing well, thank you very much.
And smelling fantastic, if you don't mind me saying.
Sorry?
Smelling fantastic. I don't know what perfume you use, but it's absolutely beautiful. Irene, congratulations on the publication of your book.
Thank you very much.
This is it too far to say that it is a lifelong dream to have your own book published?
Yes, I always wanted to write a book, but only just got around to it. I'm A slow starter.
Okay. Well, let's learn a little bit about you. You're originally from the Brandywell area, but you've been living in Muth in Donegal, not a million miles away, for the last couple of decades.
Yes, that's right. I love Muth.
Yeah, okay. And that's your home now?
That's my home.
But still a dairy girl? Still a dairy girl?
Oh, well, you're always a dairy girl.
Okay.
And if you're not born in Muth, you're always a blow-in.
Exactly, that's true. Come here. When did this dream of writing a book first start for you?
I suppose I always wanted to write from a very young age, teenager probably. But I didn't have any formal education, so I just assumed that I couldn't write. You know, I thought you needed a degree to write.
Yeah.
I didn't know you could actually do it without going to university. And then I started writing comedy sketches. I was in an all-women's comedy group called Stretch Marks Unlimited.
Love it.
And we all wrote sketches each, you know, we took turns. So I just figured, well, that's a story with a beginning, a middle, and an end, even if it's a very short story.
Yeah.
After 2 years of doing that, I started to write plays, and it were quite successful plays.
So you were scratching the artistic writing itch for quite some time.
Yeah, but my ambition was to write a book.
But still, the book eluded you. Why?
I don't know. I think I just thought it would be too hard, it was too complicated to do that. There's so much goes into a book. But you know, when I started writing it, that wasn't the case at all. It came very natural.
Do you kick yourself that you didn't?
I do.
Yeah. But you were very busy raising a family.
Yeah.
And everything else that goes along with it. You know, in a traditional family sense, in that, you know, what is that? But you know what I mean? The day-to-day grind is what I'm on about. That sounds terrible. But do you know the challenge of raising a family? It's like you've got one up where they're less responsible, and then another one where they still rely on you, and then there's one coming behind. It's hard to find the time, isn't it? Maybe we should make time better, but it can be hard to find the time for ourselves sometimes.
It is hard to make time when I had 4 children of my own. You know, I was divorced, so it was a full-on job for me. And then gradually, as they became more independent, and you know, they didn't need me as much, I was thinking to myself, well, what am I going to do now? You know,
yeah.
Do I still have a brain, or is it gone to mush after all these years of housework? So I decided to try, and that's when I got into sketch writing. But it took me a long time to get to the book.
Yeah, but you see, there's probably a school of thought. I'm not sure if you share it, Irene, that you know maybe now was the right time. You talked about when you actually started, it was easier than you had anticipated, but maybe you were formed as the person that you are, and now was the time for you to do it to the best of your ability.
I think there's a lot of wisdom in that. Probably that's very true. But it would be nice if I could have started younger. But it doesn't matter. I'm here now, so
exactly. And
it's done now.
So how did you get into the comedy sketching? Why were you writing comedy? Is that just what you were drawn to? What you had the knack for?
I've always loved comedy.
Yeah.
I've actually done stand up and all, and I just love comedy. So I find it very uplifting. I think to write something very deep, I wouldn't enjoy it as much.
Mm-hmm.
I've always loved comedy.
I would listen to a number of podcasts and I've done a number of interviews, and I always think in terms of performance or what have you, comedy is the most difficult. You know, you listen to comedies that have gone up to comedians, that go up to do the Fringe Festival in Edinburgh, and it's a nightmare, you know, or they're trying new work and they're playing small clubs and it can be in front of 5 or 6 people. It just seems a really, really tough way to make money as a comedian, or to make a living, or even to have fun.
That's right. It is very hard, and the scariest thing that I ever done in my life was stand-up comedy. I mean, it was terrifying.
There's no safety net.
No, you're going out there and everybody's looking up at me and saying, entertain me now, you know, so you just hope that it works out. So that was the most frightening thing. Writing the book, as I said, it seemed to come naturally to me.
Yeah.
So I was very lucky in that respect. You know.
Just one other question, just on your stand-up work. Did you do that a couple of times just to prove yourself you could do it, or did you do the circuit, or what?
No, I did it in the group that I was in, the Stretch Marks Unlimited. We had a spot where I did stand-up comedy, and I've done it at all the places, like weddings and places like that, you know, but it's very, very hard to do.
So much pressure.
If it works, it's great.
Yeah.
You know, it's the best thing in the world, but if it doesn't, you know, soul destroying.
Yeah, if you have a stinker, it's a nightmare. Right, so this is a new work. It's called A Riot in Murphy's Pub. It's a new work, but does it have its foundation or even the basis of the story in previous writings?
It's very, very loosely based on a play. You know, that's where it came from, and it's a black comedy. You know, I need to say that. So it is based on very loosely based on a play. So I had the bones of it already.
Yeah. Okay. And it's very accessible. It's not it's not 300 pages here. Is that what you wanted? That you wanted something? I mean, I would say proper avid readers could probably pick this up and spurt it out in one sitting almost. Or,
yeah, that's right.
You know, is that what you wanted?
That's what I wanted. I didn't want a long, drawn out story because I do get bored myself if I read the book and it's too long.
There's too much filler.
Aye.
Yeah.
And I like plenty of things happening in a story, and you don't often get that, you know. So there's a lot of mayhem in that book, you know. If
you pack a lot in.
A lot of characters,
yeah,
and a lot of them taken from my own life. So they're really real.
Yeah, I get you. It's a sort of a mishmash and pulling all different types of people.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you never know. It's like a stand-up gig. You never know what it's going to be like until you get the reaction. Okay, so this has been published primarily on Amazon, is it?
It's an Amazon, but it's also in America. It was published by Pegasus.
Okay, right. So you have a publisher.
Yeah, they're a publisher.
But the reaction to it's been really positive.
It's getting great reviews on Amazon. Really, there's people looking for sequels.
Well, that's one of my questions, so we'll brush over that. What does that feel like, though, when you put it out there? And, you know, the thing with Amazon, it's global. So someone could be picking this up in Indianapolis or India or in Hollywood in Belfast, you know. The fact that you're getting positive reviews from all over the place, it must be very encouraging.
It's lovely, to tell you the truth. I really am enjoying that. And the book's actually on sale in Barnes & Noble.
Brilliant.
In America and Walmart. And,
wow.
And Amazon over there. And I've also adapted it onto a film script. So I'm looking for Colin Farrell but I can't get him anywhere.
You're looking for Colin Farrell to play the part where you come and did an interview about it. Colin Farrell, you're asking Colin Farrell to play me. Is that it? No?
Absolutely.
Now, come here. Tell us the story of the outline as much as you want without, you know yourself how much you can say. So the picture, for those of you watching, it is a familiar Irish picture, you could almost say. It's a coffin with a pint on top and a cap on top. And it's called A Riot in Murphy's Pub. What's the story?
The story is about a man called Higgs, which is short for Haggerty, who loves being in the pub. He's in the pub almost every night of the week, and his wife's very neglected. So they have no family, no children, no relatives. So he comes home one night and he thinks it's Friday night, but it's actually the early hours of Sunday morning. So she just cracks up and she kills him, and she's put in jail straight away. So there's nobody to wake him. They've no family, they've no children. And all the wives in the village will have nothing to do with waking him. They've totally disowned him. So the men are just really outraged about this, and they have a big party in the bar, and they celebrate his life. Now he's lying in the chapel, lying in state, waiting to get buried. They have a great night at the big do. But the next day, everybody's hungover, and then the police come to the door looking to see who stole Higgs' body from the chapel. So that's as far as I can go with.
What a setup.
I know.
What a setup.
It's sort of a whodunit.
Brilliant. And also to adapting it for as a film script as well, it sounds like, you know, it might not be a dream. The likes of a Colin Farrell could be in this.
There's a couple, if you read the reviews, some people in Amazon reviewing it says it sounds like a film to them.
Yeah.
It reads like a film, you know, so...
And Camille, why do you think it's been so popular in America? Is it the Irish angle, do you think?
Oh, yes, there's so many Irish.
Yeah.
And even people that aren't Irish, they'll tell you they are Irish,
you
know.
I know, exactly.
Because I was in Las Vegas one time with my son, and there was a bartender who was obviously a black man, you know. And he says, "Where are you all from?" And I says, "I'm from Ireland." He says, "Oh, my granny was from Cork."
There you go.
And that happens no matter where you go in America. Somebody's always an Irish descent, you know.
And Camille, you talk about your fans looking for a sequel. What is the situation there, Irene? Because, you know, when you left school at 14, I think a lot of it you maybe didn't back yourself throughout your entire life, but you did eventually, and you got here now. Do you want to rest at that and say, right, I've fulfilled my lifelong dream? There is a book, or are you scratching now? Have you an itch to scratch about getting something else out?
I have 2 more books written.
Wow.
And the publisher likes them.
Excellent.
But I'm finding this a very different process from playwriting, because in playwriting you write the play, and then you get the actors, and then you do the rehearsing, and then you're on the stage. So it's all congealed, and you know where you're going. With publishing, you're sort of waiting around.
Yeah.
You know what's happening now. Because you can't do anything yourself. You have to wait for the publishers.
And do they send it back to you and go, we love it, but... Or like, do they? I'm not looking for specific examples or anything. I'm just the process interests me. They might go, "Oh, we love that, but what about this?"
They never changed one word.
Wow,
not a word, and I was surprised because there's some very risky words in that book. You know, no, they never changed a thing, which was great.
Excellent. All right, listen, congratulations. I think fans will be delighted to know there's another couple of books at least in the offing, and you're just enjoying it now, are you?
I'm having a ball. Just let me say that the books will be in Little Acorn Bookshop in Derry.
Yes.
And also Fall Bookshop in Magazine Street. They're not there yet at the minute, but they're ordered, so they're a bit slow coming in.
Fantastic. And you can't. Would you be you'd be a big reader yourself? Would you?
I all my life,
Yeah. And do you still like picking up the actual book and turning down the corner, or would you take a Kindle on holidays with you, or what?
No, I like a book.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are like that.
There's nothing like a book.
I think a lot of people thought the digital stuff would be like vinyl, that vinyl would, like a actual book would become niche, but readers don't want that. They find it handy to take a few books with them on holiday, but fundamentally when it comes down to it, they want to get a good book in their hand and get a smell of it.
Absolutely. It's just well, you know yourself, you're probably a reader too. There's nothing like holding the book and reading it. The electric device is not the same at all.
All right, Irene, listen, I can't wait to see where this goes. It'd be fantastic if it was turned into a film. There's so many options now as well too, because, back in the day there could have been 3 or 4, film houses or whatever, but now you've got Amazon, you've got Netflix, you've got Apple. Who's to say, where this could go?
That's great, but here's the problem. It's very hard to get your foot in the door.
Yeah.
That's the problem. It's getting in there.
Exactly.
I know it would make a great film, but
it
depends on who wants to do that.
Exactly, yeah. Because it's proven, because the book works, and you've got the screenplay and everything. And do you still write for the stage a little bit, or is it sort of a work-life balance, and the work is the book and the life is stuff outside the arts?
When COVID happened, everything, yourself what happened. I never got back to this. I have 2 more plays written, which were never staged.
Right.
Wrote those during COVID. So I might go back. I haven't decided.
Wow. So you've got a good body of work sitting there ready to go between books and stage. Fantastic. All right, brilliant stuff, Irene. Any advice, by the way, for someone 14, 24 who has a dream that you've learned from your experience that by your own account, it's taken quite some time for you to fulfill that dream? Have you any advice for anyone out there with a dream that maybe themselves are holding them back, or whatever it might be?
I think you need to believe in yourself. That's the most important thing.
Back yourself.
You need to believe in yourself, and just don't give up. Look at me. I'm ancient.
You're incredibly successful. But no, I do take your point. You're not ancient, but I do take your point. But then again, you could argue, when is something late or too late? It's not really, because we're sitting here having a chat about it.
That's right.
And it's there for good. All right, Irene, lovely to have you in studio. The very best of luck in getting this to the screen. I'd love to see that. And the publication of the next 2 books, sequels, or
no, they're not. They're
just complete new
different.
works.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Comedies, but
all right, great stuff. All right, Arlene Murlock, author of A Riot in Murphy's Pub. You can get it on Amazon. And do you want to quickly one time again mention those bookstores that will be coming into supply soon?
Little Acorns Bookstore in Great James's Street in Derry, and Fall Bookshop and Magazine Street in Derry.
All right, and there is the cover. If you're flicking through Amazon and you want to make sure you got the right one, it is called A Riot in Murphy's Pub. Irene, thank you so very much indeed. It's been wonderful having you on the programme.
Thank you.
Back with more shortly.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Foyle Coaches Northwest Busways are looking for experienced bus drivers for local link routes on a 2-week rota. Must have experience in full-size coaches, a clean D driving licence and be CPC compliant. Very competitive pay rates are offered, starting at €22 per hour. Apply by the 21st of August to Foyle Coaches Northwest Busways Limited, Clogher, Redcastle, County Donegal, or email info@foylecoaches.com.
Arriving at Platform 2, preserving wildflowers.
I'm getting this one.
You might see my sister Mary.
Mary Dunn. I know her well. Where are you off to?
I'm getting the lace making line.
This is me. Enjoy the event.
Give my best to Mary.
Heritage connects us all. Get your ticket to new adventures at heritageweek.ie, August 17th to 25th.
National Heritage Week is a programme of the Heritage Council, supported by the local authorities' heritage teams and the Department of Housing, Local Government and Heritage.
Are you tired of living with knee pain? Say goodbye to discomfort and hello to a brighter future with robotic-assisted knee replacement surgery at Kingsbridge Northwest. Don't let knee pain hold you back any longer. Experience faster recovery times and improved outcomes. Visit kingsbridgeprivatehospital.com/northwest to schedule your consultation today. Kingsbridge Northwest, where innovation meets excellence in orthopaedic care.
The Rent-A-Room Relief Scheme is currently available, and you could earn up to €14,000 a year tax-free by renting rooms in your home to students. This scheme is open to everyone, and it won't affect your payments if you're in receipt of social welfare support. Find out more at gov.ie/Room for a Student, an initiative of the Government of Ireland.
Big Band Country Nights continue at Logues of Cranford this Tuesday with Claudia Buckley and her band. That's another Big Band Country Night this Tuesday with Claudia Buckley at Logues of Cranford. You'll also find music in the Wee Bar on Saturday and old-time dancing every Sunday.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Did you know that M&S school uniform is durable, responsible, hand-me-downable?
Why?
Because that's what kids need.
Why?
Because sometimes things can get messy.
Why?
Because paint, puddles, ketchup.
Why?
Because school happens. M&S uniforms. Shop in-store and online at marksandspencer.ie.
Why?
Letterkenny Summer Sessions Festival presents a full weekend of concerts at the Big Top at Kiltoy, Letterkenny from the 15th to the 18th of August. Thursday 15th of August, Kneecap, Casso, The Scratch and much more. Friday 16th of August, Dance Night featuring Brian Kearney, Shugs, Will Atkinson and more. Saturday 17th of August, The Wolf Tones and special guests. Sunday 18th of August, a very special show. Queen, Europe's most authentic Queen tribute, on stage alongside the Dublin Gospel Choir. Go to summer-sessions.ie or Summer Sessions on social media for tickets and all info. That's the highly anticipated Letterkenny Summer Sessions, 15th to 18th of August.
Get back to school wear that will last at Watson Menswear in Letterkenny. School uniforms for St Junan's, Mulroy College and Errigal College. All jumpers are Irish-made quality knitwear. Get back to school sorted at Watson Menswear. Open 7 days a week on Main Street, Letterkenny and at watsonmenswear.com.
Glan Anya Charnta has part-time vacancies at the Clohan Day Centre for carers and kitchen staff starting in August. Previous experience is an advantage. Email isaacbuttcenter@gmail.com for job specifications. To apply, send your cover letter and CV to Ancairla, Glan Anya CTR and Clohan Bug, Condy Winanal by August 14th.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by McElhinney's. Make your sterling go further with our new cash sales exchange rate at €1.20 for every £1 spent in store. No matter the weather, visit us in Ballybuffet for all your fashion, beauty, gifting and homeware needs this summer.
Right, the weather forecast. So, the scattered outbreaks of rain, which we've seen so far, is going to give way to drier and sunnier conditions with just the odd light shower spreading from the west through the morning and early afternoon. Highs of 17 to 19 degrees, winds moderate to fresh and gusty. The weather was lovely yesterday, and was it yesterday or was it Sunday? I can't remember, but it was the wind. It's the wind that sort of takes away the possibility of certain types of activities. I want to mention a quiz that we have running for you. It's in advance of National Heritage Week. It's running from the 17th of August to the 25th. And on the show today, we've got 2 family heritage cards valued at €90 each to give away. And these cards offer access for a family, that's 2 adults and up to 5 kids, to over 45 OPW managed heritage sites across the country. So you can bring a random 5 children with you as well, of course. You can visit any or all of the attractions as often as you like during the Heritage Cards validity period. You can see heritageweek.ie for all events listings for Donegal and further afield. Now, to win, which heritage place am I talking about right now? Sitting beside Garton, so peaceful and so still, a house and garden given to us by the artist Derek Hill. It's a bit challenging, this. I don't know, would people have this in their general knowledge bank? I might not, honestly. You might have to Google it. But anyway, give us the answer. Send it via WhatsApp or text to 086 60 25,000. Tell us who you are, where you're from. Or you can email it to comments@highlandradio.com. So, sitting beside Garton, so peaceful and so still, a house and garden given to us by the artist Derek Hill. What house and facility are we talking about? HeritageWeek.ie is the place to find all events for National Heritage Week happening in County Donegal, but also across the country if you're away visiting and you're into that type of thing, or maybe you could get into that type of thing. Right, okay. Stuart, you've asked a question. Why is Ireland not being given being more active in relation to Palestine? Can you make your point in a couple of minutes, or do you want to come back on with us tomorrow?
Oh, I can give you a couple of minutes now.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Stuart. It's an important issue, and I don't want you to feel that I'm rushing it, but we have a couple of minutes. Go ahead.
No, I just feel that, I don't know if everybody knows, because our mainstream media, as you know and everybody else knows, is very quality control, and you're only allowed to say so much, and they don't report half of what's going on.
Israel good, Russia bad, that type of thing.
Yes. Well, Shannon Airport, people don't realise that when the Iraqi war was going on, we had over 900,000 American troops going through there per year. Now, people don't know that happened. And our government needs to stop, immediate effect, anything American is coming in that isn't tourists. No refueling these planes because they're not checked. Nobody knows what's on board. They can bring bombs as long as they're not active bombs.
Well, there were rendition flights as well, let's not forget either. People being taken to Guantanamo Bay, I believe there was stop off for refuelling in Shannon. Maybe the Irish people don't want to be complicit in that.
We are complicit. This is the problem. We are involved. If we are fueling planes for America, we are involved in this. Our Taoiseach went out there and done his best on St. Patrick's Day. I disagreed with anybody going out, but to be fair, he done his best, and you could see in his face the disgust. He just completely, what he said, America turned around and just said the complete opposite. And the other thing is, our airspace should be closed to all American military, army, and our coasts need to be closed to the American Navy. They're all sitting out now, ready for, they're poking and poking and poking at Iraq or Iran, hoping that eventually they're going to give in and there's going to be an all-out hell broke loose. And that's what Israel's looking to do. And they are, Israel's at war at the minute with 4 different countries.
Yeah. All right.
They're not allowed to defend themselves. Only Israel's allowed to defend themselves.
Yeah, well, Stuart, look,
and they're not allowed.
I'd love to actually tease out the conversation with you and counterpoints and get to where we want to get to, but unfortunately, time has run out. But we'll get back to it again, Stuart. It is an important issue.
It's just our airspace and our airports.
I get you.
Close them for American troops and that.
But there are
we can't keep doing this.
Consequences to that. But anyway, I take your point. And listen, what's happening in Palestine is such that we should be outraged on an hourly basis, not just
daily. Every day it needs to be talked about.
All right, Stuart,
yes.
have a good day. Appreciate it. I feel bad rushing you, but I explained at the beginning, so I hope you understand. Take care of yourself. That's where we have to leave it on the show today. We will, the Thursday winner, Tuesday's winner, Glebe House is the answer. Well done, Neve McFadden, Kilcar, Glebe Gallery, Martina Cush in Ruski Convoy. Both of you will be in touch with your passes. Thank you for that. Back with another chance to win and so much more besides tomorrow after 9.